Hello, welcome to another episode of 4G1G. We are
Sister,
Quincy,
Zip,
Nate,
and I am Mac, and today we're going to be talking about Death Note.
if you liked our podcast so far, like, subscribe, follow us depending on your platform, leave a comment, maybe also your full name, and your photo for our special little notebook.
Wait, you're not talking about killing people, are you? 'Cause it sounds
I'm not
like
talking about killing people. I'm just talking about if they, just in case they decide to unsubscribe to our channel.
That sounds like a threat. That's just spiteful. Hey, that's actually the perfect segue. Now that I think about it, speaking of spite.
Oh yeah, actually, this whole thing is kind of fueled on spite.
It's built on spite and pride.
All right, let's do this. So, when did we first watch this show? Anyway, was it like a couple years ago?
It was like 2022. Was it 2022 or 23? Yeah, you would remember, Quincy.
It was November 13th of 2022 when we first watched Death Note. So almost 3 years ago.
It's been
wow.
3 years.
Well, a little less than a month shy of that right now.
It doesn't even feel that long.
Yeah. I think about it.
Looking back, it's pretty unbelievable.
it's all been a blur.
Yeah. And if I remember correctly, obviously we've heard of Death Note because I mean it's one of those animes that everybody knows about.
It's iconic.
It's one of those must-watch sort of things. Like you hear people talk about, if you love movies, then you gotta watch The Godfather. If you love TV, you gotta watch Breaking Bad. And if you love anime, then you gotta watch Death Note. It's one of those foundational sort of things. I mean,
It's like Harry Potter.
Yeah, Death Note is a bit more of a mixed bag than Breaking Bad or The Godfather.
What about the third one?
Well, we don't really talk about the third one. But dang it if it isn't fun to talk about.
If you like sitcoms, is that like Seinfeld
Seinfeld, Friends, or What's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
or
What's that one?
Martin?
Yeah.
What's that?
Danny DeVito, like the memes and that sort of thing. Like I get it.
Okay, I think I do. You know more about this pop culture stuff than me. I was gonna say like Everybody Hates Chris though.
That should be on the list.
So I was thinking of the staples in people's households. It's like Martin, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It's like the 90s, you know?
Yeah.
Seinfeld, Friends.
That's a good list.
That's the Four Horsemen.
It is like the Four Horsemen. Yeah, it's like of what was it, evening TV or something like that.
The Four Horsemen of evening TV.
Yeah, so like that's some good stuff.
That is a very
That's
good
a
list.
good list, actually.
Well, thank you.
Okay, while this podcast is going, now I'm going to try to formulate the Four Horsemen of anime now.
Attack on Titan, Death Note,
Full Metal Alchemist, Evangelion, or
Evangelion.
yeah, that's
actually that's a pretty good one.
But we haven't watched that.
I was going to say, but then there's also like Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, I was going to say there's also Cowboy Bebop.
Anyways,
Yeah.
a lot easier to describe the Four Horsemen of Did Nothing Wrong, which also applies to this.
Yeah, well that's just a load of crap, so that's kind of different.
One thing about Death Note is that when we first watched it, we weren't sure how we'd feel about it because it's out of our comfort zones.
We
Like,
also knew
completely.
a lot. We also knew some pretty significant developments with the plot. Not a whole lot, but we knew about the stuff like what happened with L, or the fact that Light is just crazy.
Yeah.
And sort of thing. I
Insane.
mean, it was different for like Mr. and Zip because they read the manga.
Yeah.
But that was all. And Mr. spent a good portion before we watched the show telling me about how the plot went, and that was just great.
Yeah. But all we mostly knew, or all I knew, is that everyone is emo, skinny, and they think too much.
I think that's just part of
perfect.
yeah.
You know,
Yes.
if I recall correctly, over the summer of 2021, wasn't Death Note among one of the prospective candidates for animes for us to watch over the fall after we finished Cowboy Bebop?
Man, I forgot about that.
Oh yeah.
It was that same summer when you helped narrow down that we were going to watch Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
And then we just
was a good time.
Full steam
Best
ahead.
time.
We also watched Erased, which was a good.
So
actually,
good.
that was
Yeah.
a much better introduction to the anime detective genre than with Death Note because it's a lot more straightforward and and kind of helped introduce us to how these sort of things work with all the thinking. And since Death Note is about 80% thinking and 80% well done voiceovers,
So
And 80% thinking, 20% doing.
yeah, I was gonna say, wouldn't that be? I think it'll be like 60% thinking, 20% voiceovers, and then another 20% of
another
drama.
another 10%.
Another 10%. And as you mentioned, one thing that was actually a unique experience was that me and Misa, as you mentioned, we read the whole manga before we watched the show. Misa was actually the one who first introduced me to it, and I was like, "Hey, you know what? I think I was in high school at the time. I think was our second year in high school,
something like that."
But anyway, so it's like, you know what? Hey, I'll give it a look. Maybe it'll help me. Maybe help stimulate my mind during homework or something like that.
That's a
or
great
between
conclusion.
homework. And it actually ended up finishing it before Mista, which came as a huge surprise, honestly. And I was just like really hyping him up because I knew it would be the kind of thing, especially later on, that you would really like.
Yeah.
How many? Let me see. How many volumes are in the manga? There's quite a few. I know that the author wanted to have a very specific number for how many chapters there would be, which is part of the reason why there's actually, like, no joke, this part of the reason why there's so much voiceover and that sort of thing, because he was padding out the pages so he could reach that number. It's like it's the reverse of the Social Network thing, where David Fincher had the actors talk faster so they can whittle down a 2.5 hour script into a 2-hour movie. It's the kind of the reverse of that, because they wanted to reach a specific number because because David Fincher.
Yes, and that's just so much. You gotta trim down. So for Death Note, you gotta add on a bunch of these monologues, but somehow he's able to make it work because of all the overthinking that's done in this freaking show. And then in the Social Network, they gotta talk fast to trim down 30 minutes.
Yeah, and also keep in mind that in terms of the Social Network, since it's David Fincher, the first scene in the movie took 99 takes.
Of course it did.
And on that note, David Fincher is actually a pretty good reference to look at in terms of a lot of the stuff with this anime. Not the melodrama, but in terms of just the moody, emo sort of aesthetic.
I was going to say, for one thing, I think a great example of what you just talked about, the voiceover sort of using up more of the pages, would be the tennis scene where Light and L were playing a game of tennis against each other, but at the same time they were thinking about how they're going to play each other and what it means if one decides to win or lose, and whether that means, if Light is Kira, and if L figures that out based solely on the results of the game.
And
that's just insane.
Yeah. Of course they did it. One thing that I actually find to be really interesting with Death Note is the fact that, since we've seen our fair share of anime after finishing Death Note 3 years ago, so we all know that the voiceover is kind of a staple of it. And
it's a little grating
and
at
there can be
times.
occasions, and there can be occasions where it can be grating, especially when it's in the middle of a fight scene, and then you end up going into the character's head, and I'm just going, I want to see the fight. I don't want to see you like thinking about the fight. I want to see you thinking about the fight, and while the fight is like going on, or just like one or the other. Like, come on, man. But with,
MHA.
Yeah.
You're right.
What was that?
Yes,
It's usually like a sort of thing from manga, I'm assuming, because
that's right.
it's kind of hard to illustrate fight scenes, but also to carry that over to a visual medium. However, with Death Note, it has a benefit because since it would normally be kind of grating, like I said, to hear what the characters are thinking about. The show is literally about thinking and scheming and plotting against each other, so it actually works really, really well, and in my opinion, is actually kind of the best use of inner thought monologue voiceover in anime, mainly because it is just really... It kind of puts you in the edge of your seat, especially when Light is contemplating killing people.
Dang it!
Yeah. Or it also adds a lot to the unintentional comedy of a lot of it.
Yeah, everyone is overthinking, and it makes sense why, because like you said, it's a really good point. The show's about being smart. Who's smart? The smartest,
Yeah, exactly.
Who's smarter than the other guy? Is Light smarter than L? Is the other way around? How does Misa come into this? Is she smart at all?
So she is briefly, but we'll get to that occasionally.
Yeah. So I really like that. And it goes into our next section, which is about the ultimate game of cat and mouse, which is just about the characters in and of themselves, how they kind of play off of each other, why they hate each other, how Light and L, they seem like they would either, like in other circumstances, be good friends because their rapport is that good.
We literally see that happen too.
We do see it happen.
And it's actually like kind of wholesome.
It's delightful. Yeah. But I can, whenever I think about Death Note, my mind is infested with season 2. Because of the taste it left in my mouth. Yeah.
Oh.
Season 2, part 2. Same thing.
Okay.
But Yeah, so let's talk about the characters now. I think we should talk about them.
Yeah. So the characters that people recognize the most are obviously Light, L, Misa, and Ryuk. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And one thing I find very interesting is how all of these characters have very different vibes about them. Like you look at Light, he kind of has the kind of average looking anime protagonist look, but with a more kind
Evil
of
edge.
Evil edge, yeah. And L is just a complete. Well, he's L. He's iconic.
Yeah.
Then you got Misa, who's got her whole goth, pigtails look,
aesthetic.
and then Ryuk, who just goes completely bonkers. And somehow it's all able to fit very well within the same genre.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Light, he looks like that one guy in that anime with the people with weird hair.
Remember,
there was
Gurren Lagann?
Yu-Gi-Oh?
The mecha anime?
I think it was Yu-Gi-Oh! Yeah, because there was like a
Kaiba.
solid
Kaiba,
JJ.
yeah.
Kaiba. That's it. Yeah, him. He always reminded me of him.
All right, listen to
Because-
you freaks. No guns, no weapons, no knives, no freaking phantom thread type crap.
What about nuclear weapons?
No.
I mean, they can't even like try. But, okay, no nukes. But I'm open to discussion.
I'm open to discussion. Yeah, we should put that link in the
Yeah,
description, by the way.
Absolutely.
Because it's a fantastic video, fantastic channel, so funny.
One of Solid JJ's best videos. That and
Yeah.
the Death Note one is another one, which we're probably going to talk about.
Masterclass in comedy. Every time we laugh. Okay. So yeah, Deadly Trio. We should talk about like who exactly is our favorite, like amongst the trio exactly.
It's Al for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
I think L is like a lot of people's favorite. It's just because he's so bizarre and he embraced it completely. It's like Wednesday Addams. You know, it's like he's so weird and different, and I like that.
Yeah, it's like the whole. Remember when he first showed up and he said the bang.
Who did that?
L when
did?
when everyone told everyone their names, and he said like, if I was Kira, then I would just be able to kill you just like that because now I know your names. You should have given me false names, but you didn't. So make sure to do that from now on.
You didn't hear it just now, but I rolled my eyes.
Yeah.
Because he, the thing that he and Light completely have in common is that they both think that they're smarter than everyone else in the universe.
They're just a couple of arrogant. They're just a couple of arrogant jerks deep down.
They really are. They really are. Who's next?
Okay,
We're talking about our favorites in the trio.
The problem is not that they're the smartest, which they kind of are. It's just they also, you can kind of tell they both think that everyone else around them is just stupid.
Yeah,
it's just like has the mind of a child. They have a mind.
And sure, maybe some of them do. Misa, yeah, okay. Matsuda, sure. But, you know, they're not, what's the word? They aren't, that doesn't make them slow. It doesn't make them like absolutely childish and dumb
Like,
and weird and
It's
stuff.
like, maybe I should explain it slowly. Yeah. Like you kind of get the impression that Light is kind of on the edge of thinking that, but because of having to keep up appearances, he has to do the Seinfeld thing and not have to, do that and not have to do that. Oh, but in addition to this, because he's also manipulating everyone.
Did you just compare Light to something to Seinfeld?
Yes.
Yeah, actually that makes sense.
Because is that what, is he kind of like Jerry in that way?
well,
Because Jerry is like,
All the characters in Seinfeld, the main thing is basically the difficulty of having to keep up public appearances in what is kind of
Socially acceptable.
yeah, but it's also like who people think they are versus who they actually are with the characters. Obviously Kramer doesn't care about that, but the other three, especially George, care a lot.
Yeah.
Too much.
Granted, it's different with Light because he's, the serial killer Kira, who's at this point killed hundreds of people and doesn't want to get caught. But it's also it's just messed up.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is like a controversial or anything like that, but I gotta say he's horrible, but I actually really like Light because he's just a joke that we always say is just how one of the reasons why Light got the Death Note is not only because of the fact that he was bored, but he fundamentally is a boring person. So like, other than using the Death Note and maybe some things at school, what does Light actually like doing?
What are his hobbies?
It used to be tennis. But
Name three.
Yeah, we know it used to be tennis, but he gave up on that. And one joke that we keep bringing up is, maybe if he stuck with that, then he would have been able to save the lives of hundreds of thousands of people.
Literally, yeah.
And while I do feel like it would have been nice to see him with a hobby, the fact that he has none, I think, actually also works better. So that because of the fact that he takes the Death Note and killing people basically becomes his hobby, and also seeing him grow from this inexperienced kid who's still smart but he's inexperienced. So like him doing these very intelligent things early on, like the thing we see with him doing the FBI agents, is very smart. But given that the author did a fantastic job where it's both very smart but very stupid at the same time because he's inexperienced. And then you see him grow and he has to think outside the box. And then as he takes L's place and becomes the god of the new world, just being able to see him do that development, I just found that to be, when I was reading the manga especially, to be very, very interesting. And I just found him to be his fall to be very interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
So I guess also comparing him to all these other Death Note characters. So like, I don't know what Misa's hobbies are or anything, but she's an interesting character, I guess you could say, because she's got the modeling job and she's got the whole goth look and everything. But Light just kind of looks painfully average by comparison to like characters like Misa and L. Like all these other characters have their own things, but then Light, he gets the Death Note. I remember I compared it to, he basically gets addicted to killing, and that's also very disturbing. But being able to see that whole change with him, and also it kind of made him my favorite character in the manga, right behind, maybe behind Aizawa, who's also really cool. But I'll get to that.
Yeah, it makes sense that you would say Aizawa because he's got the afro.
I have no idea how that happened in Japan, but yeah, I'm both for it.
Yeah,
yeah. It sounds like Light just has a serious case of overestimating himself.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. He called himself God of the New World when he was 17.
Really quickly.
At the end of episode 1.
At the end of episode 1. And another thing I like about that story is it's very fast paced. It's like by the end of that day, Light is like, I'm God of the New World.
He made up his mind.
He's made up his mind. Like he has accepted the call. And like that fast, just like that. Not even Barbie accepted the call like that quickly. So it's like, Light is just working on double time. And I think he's just so ready to do something with his life other than what he's expected to do.
He's very, very proactive in that regard, which makes him very, very interesting.
And very dangerous.
He's just so stoked to do something different. Like, and also doing something that people would never expect. It's like, they would never expect me to start killing people. In my bedroom.
Yeah, with a magic notebook.
Like they would never expect that. They would expect him to just be a good boy, always make his bed in the morning, do his hair, go out there, maybe get a girlfriend, go to a really good school, work for his dad someday, just be boring, doing what everyone expects, So it makes sense why he would want to work outside the box. But I think he's also pretty self-conscious.
Yeah.
So he's also, he wants to work outside the box, but he's so scared of what other people would think of him, whether they would find him weird or something, that he does it undercover.
By killing people.
By killing people, yeah. But he's just, I think he was just at the end of his rope.
He could have he could have just done something totally random, you could have done something
dye your
totally
hair red.
Red.
It's
because red is.
That's right. Okay,
that works.
Yeah, just do something
Learn
else.
how to ride a motorcycle.
Yeah,
something.
Also, just
jump from a building to a crane. Or that's some other movie. No.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I don't know. Work at Pizza Hut. Do something different.
Also, so with the thing you're saying with Barbie. So Barbie is, do you guys ever think about dying? And then Light is, do you guys ever think about killing everyone?
Yeah.
That was bad. I'm doing the dance with it. You guys ever think about killing everyone? Honestly,
that is stuck in my head.
I will not be able to get that out.
Yeah, get on that, fan artists. Now since we're talking about Light, I think he might be my favorite as well, mainly because it's kind of a trip because obviously he's the protagonist, but one thing I appreciate that Death Note does is how he is unapologetically evil, and he's portrayed as such. And initially I have this written down, but I really don't understand how people can defend him or anything like that. I mean, sure, with his initial goal, but my only the caveat with that is I don't trust Light enough to be a good judge of character, because he's all talking about his whole thing of it will be a new world filled with people that I've judged to be honest, kind, and hardworking.
Yeah.
I don't trust Light to be a good enough judge of character because he's such an egomaniacal god wannabe that what does a good person look like in his eyes?
They look like him.
And not to mention the fact that he's a 17-year-old kid, so based on that immature mind, that's not good.
Yeah, exactly. And also,
And we see that later on too.
In the since we're talking about the pilot, one thing that I really love was how when he first tried out the Death Note with the whole thing on the news. First of all, it's kind of like a part of it kind of fits in with a sort of sick, what would you call it? Not escapism thing, but if you had to deal with that and you saw some sort of jacked up thing on the news like that, I think any normal person would be like, it's probably a prank, but why not? What's the consequence?
That's a good point.
I thought the first time he tried it was when he made Truck-kun hit that guy.
That was
second time. That was the
Second
second time.
Wait, are you saying that guy got isekai'd? Yeah. Okay, so that's the alternate show that can happen. That it happens in the Death Note universe.
I wonder where he'd get isekai'd into.
Well, depending on what it was that guy was about to do, let's just hope that it isn't anywhere pleasant.
It's gonna be a place where he gets bashed.
Yeah, he was
How
hoping.
about Berserk?
Yeah, character development and who cares?
Or how about what's that story with the caveman and the T-Rex?
What?
Primal?
Bang and Claw?
Let's put him in Primal.
Yeah,
I'm not joking.
Yeah, anyway, it's kind of a like I said, it's like a sort of fantasy that people would think of, like, yeah, why not? I mean, if it does work, it might like save some people. But I really love how that whole thing was still not enough. So when he was confronted with another opportunity, specifically with some guy shows up and starts, the whole thing with that. They were assaulting that woman, and he just says his full name for the world to hear. and Light was also.
I know there's absolutely no way he could have known, but what kind of idiot does something like that? I mean,
He was an idiot anyway.
It'll be very easy to pick him out in a lineup anyway. It's like, oh yeah, the guy who assaulted that lady, his name was this, and this, or the lady could call the police and say, oh, his name was this, and this, all because you opened your stupid mouth.
Or the guy who poked the eye out of my son. Oh, Odysseus of Ithaca!
Oh, Odysseus!
Yeah, it is kind of.
It was basically like that.
Yeah.
That was a dumb move.
Now you mention it.
Yeah.
And I really love how Light goes from reacting like a somewhat normal person would when he's like, holy crap, I killed 2 people. And then he goes from that immediately to thinking, no, there are so many people that the world could do without. And I will get rid of them. I'll be god of the new world. To the point with when he goes back to his room and you see that he wrote how many names did he write? Like hundreds?
It was hundreds, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of awesome, but it is also just crazy.
It's really freaky. Like
insane.
He just has this insane look on his face. He's doing this little laugh. He's just like, I'm the baddest.
Yeah, was that the part with the boys? That's right.
No, that's it's before that. This is like when it's when was that you doing the chorus?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, I've got a question.
This is before Ryuk showed up. It was that scene.
Cue us as the Muppets.
Wasn't there also another motivation for Light killing as many criminals as he could, in addition to being bored and supposedly wanting to scour the world of evil? Wasn't it that he wanted his dad, who's in law enforcement, to be able to be home more?
Is that a fan theory or?
That's adorable.
I mean, it makes sense, but
it could have been like some sort of more of a subconscious motivation that. I remember the Vilei brought up in his video about like Yagami.
Great channel, by the way.
Yeah, it's a really good channel.
Links in the description down below.
Go to it and
really?
subscribe immediately.
That there's a chance that Chief Yagami may have said something about how, just coming home stressed because of work and everything, and having to deal with criminals, that he might have said something along the lines of how there are just some people the world could just do without.
This is like Monster. It's like what happened with Johan, with Tenma. They'd be better off dead. That whole thing.
That would be interesting. Yeah.
So yeah, I thought it was like a sort of thing where like a multiple instance thing where he would have said that, or if he was like Mrs. Yagami asked, "So how was work today, honey?" Then his chief would go a little bit too detailed, saying like, "Oh, we were just dealing with like a child kidnapper or a serial murderer, it's like some dead
serial
body,
cannibal,
a serial cannibal, or a dead body with its head cut off was found in a river."
Cut people's feet off.
Yeah, that sort of thing. And then Light is just having to listen to all that and just sort of internalizes it. You know?
Yeah, most
That
likely
makes sense.
because there are awful people in the world, but if people like that who cut people's feet off or like kidnap children and stuff like that, sure, they are better off gone. Most likely, yeah. I agree with him in that way. But there are people who might do something like they litter.
Yeah.
I think Light probably as it goes on, or people who jaywalk. Like anyone who like breaks the law, like even if it's kind of small, he probably would think, "Oh, die."
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what Batman had to
exactly.
deal
That's
with.
what I'm saying.
It's funny because Mikami actually comes pretty close to doing that because he would end up Mikami ends up targeting people who are lazy as well as being criminals and things like that. But the thing is that Light actually thinks that that's
Overkill.
too far.
People who are lazy.
Yeah.
Oh, so he's thinking people who murder, pillage, and just are
any
menaces
general
to
inconvenience.
society. General inconveniences and just menaces to society. Like they can just die. But Mikami, it's like anyone who's lazy, who looks at me funny, or who litters.
Who has the same haircut as me.
Anyone who has the same haircut as me.
Or pigeon toe and Nabi need, and every time they walk, it makes the clicking sound.
Hey, that's just cruel. Like,
Yeah, exactly. But again, like,
Yeah. Speaking of, it's like Mikami, he could be a model if he wanted to. He actually could if he just got himself a little bit of a haircut and stuff like that. He does not have to do this. I think he just wants something to believe in.
if we knew more about him aside from that thing, aside from that weird flashback, then we'd probably be able to draw the conclusion. But we'll get to that.
yeah, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
Okay, what would you guys?
That sound really bad.
Favorite characters with the Deadly Trio.
Yeah, have you said your favorite?
Oh, I really wanted it to be Misa. I was like, come on, Misa. Be smart.
Misa's time is coming. Wait.
Yeah.
Her time is coming.
The time of Misa is coming.
When's it coming?
I'm waiting.
Is it coming?
Please.
It's not coming.
Yeah. I really wanted it to be her. And I was very upset when it wasn't. And to be honest, I'm in a little bit of a pit or a gray area where I'm like, I don't like any of these people.
Okay, that's fine.
I mean, they're
I want to.
all horrible, except for maybe Chief Yagami, who's just
And Matsuda.
overworks himself,
The
and
thing
Matsuda,
is-
who's
He's just normal.
It's there.
That's always
He's
pretty good
present.
too.
it's true.
Yeah, I like Aizawa.
Aizawa's cool.
Like
Yeah.
him and his family and like a bit of an arc that he has. It's like
That was so good.
that
Actually,
was really good.
How did he get that
Actually-
afro though?
Actually, Ide and Mogi
Did he have that
got to as
Ethiopia
well.
that you met? Ethiopian?
Maybe his mom's Ethiopian.
I can see Aizawa being mixed. Honestly,
Yeah,
that's the
same.
thing that
That
makes
makes
most
sense.
sense.
Totally same. It's like his features and stuff. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
But most importantly, the afro.
Yeah, most importantly. So yeah, with Misa Misa,
It's got
She
to you too,
keep
huh?
calling
The
her
Misa Misa hypnosis has taken effect.
She called herself that in the third person, in the third person,
All the time.
all the time
All
in
the
the
time.
manga. It got so
It
annoying.
didn't happen as much in the anime, thank God. But
thank
every
you.
time it did happen, I think you guys just sort of cringed a little.
yeah.
Yeah. Sorry,
Okay.
sorry, you keep going.
So yeah, the Misa Misa outbreak when she first showed up, it was awesome.
That was
like,
man, that
like,
was so good.
it was a terrifying scene. It's like anyone who just approached the building, they just drop dead. Not only is she smart, she's fast at writing. Like she's really fast. Like holy crap. It takes me a minute to transcribe stuff, honestly. So I was impressed. I was like, bravo.
Not only that, but she did it whilst looking at the person to get the name. So there's a more than likely chance that she wasn't even really looking at it. So she just had her eyes locked on whoever with the binoculars at whoever was in front of the building, and without looking, it was just like.
Yeah, that's really cool. So yeah,
Oh, you
that
actually need binoculars,
in and
too.
of itself, like very quick thinking, and I was weirded out, of course, It kind of reminds me of Stain a little bit. It's like so many people were like influenced by Stain, and there was
My Academia.
In My Academia, yeah. And they just adored him and his cause and stuff like that. And with Misa, kind of made sense in the beginning because it's like a really bad person murdered her parents, and then this guy was murdered by Light. So maybe her parents were murdered, and then this person was never caught or something like that. Even though like she could have known who this person was.
I think he got off.
Yeah, he got off, and it's like that's crazy. And then, he's killed by Light. And it makes sense why she'd feel indebted to him, for one thing. She would also feel like, I love this person because, like, even if he wasn't able to save her parents, justice was served,
Vaguely reminds me of...
That's a great way of putting it.
Yeah, vaguely reminds me of Mrs. Lovett, except minus the justice being served thing in Sweeney Todd, in terms of being the accomplice. Because, if she had more to do, maybe that's the sort of direction that it could have gone in.
Yeah. And the author with Sugumi Oba, that's not his real name. He's very mysterious. But anyway.
He's the author of Death Note.
The author of Death Note. I think that with the beginning of how he wrote these female characters, it's like it was a really good setup. I felt the same way about Takeda, for instance. Or... about what's her name, Naomi Mizura. It's like essentially like these women can be really good characters, and like Misa, she has not only does she have blackmail on Light, she also has something he could really use with the Shinigami eyes, and she has a lot of influence and stuff like that. And frankly, with Light, he kind of has influence, but it's mainly because he's good looking.
Yeah, indirect. It's like Yagami has influence.
Yeah.
And Kira has indirect influence.
Yeah. With Misa, she has a name, like a staple. She is famous.
Oh, yeah, that's right, because the model thing. That's a good point.
The model thing. Like, Light is... He's useless. Like, he's just... He doesn't have any of these connections. He's not exactly important.
Well, he has connections in the with the police force, but that's only because his dad is the chief and because he helped them solve a case. But I see what you mean, because like people know who Misa is because of the whole thing with her being a popular model, and if people aren't going to suspect Light of being a serial killer, they're definitely not going to suspect Misa.
Yeah, but it was the deterioration... I like to call it the deterioration of Misa Misa. Where
you keep saying
yeah, where she just over time, I'm like, why do you like this guy? Like, I get that, you could work with him and maybe you feel an indebtedness or like debt to him or whatever the word is. Why do you love him? Like, this isn't love, it's obsession, but like, why are you still with him? He doesn't treat you well whatsoever. He calls you names. He's just bad to you.
Misa, you idiot!
Yeah. And I'm just appalled about how it seems like she falls more and more for this guy. She stays with him for like 6 years. I don't see no ring. He's one of those. He's going to be one of those. And he was,
I think he was cheating on her too, by the way.
Plus he was cheating on her probably multiple times. It's like, did she care? Did she know?
If she did know, she would have killed them.
Yeah, that's true. But it's like, why are you dumb now? I thought you were smart.
I bet you anything that Light was probably taking back the Death Note and then giving it back to her over and over again, basically just messing with her memory all the time.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So it's like, yeah, it could be a case of where she keeps losing her memory and gets dumber and dumber.
It's like the dad in Heroes. What's his name? What he was kept doing to his wife.
Wait.
Where he had the Haitian guy take her memory away so many times because she kept seeing things that she shouldn't have seen, and it got so bad it was just screwing with her mind.
You're talking about glasses, right?
Yeah. It didn't.
Bennett.
It didn't make her a great character. It didn't make her dumb necessarily. It made her have horrible migraines and probably gave her a tumor.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if she got
It probably
tumored.
gave her early onset Alzheimer's or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she got
awful.
her memory wiped. It's like in Men in Black. You gotta give her brain cancer or something. Yeah.
You've never heard it before.
But how many times have you flash thing that poor woman?
Couple.
And you're not the least bit concerned.
Little.
Have you ever flash thing to me before?
No.
Hey, I'm not playing with you, man. Have you ever flash thing to me before?
No.
Yeah. It's basically the same thing.
So, actually, the act of taking away a death note doesn't automatically erase that person's memory. That person specifically has to renounce the death note and just say get rid of it basically. So then they would end up losing all memories of them even having it. So that's how it worked with, Light in the prison. That's also how it worked with Misa when she's being interrogated. So then coming in contact with the Death Note again would end up bringing back all of those memories.
Yeah.
So the person who owns the Death Note have to reject it, basically.
It's like logging out of a website. It's like logging out of your account on a website. Basically, it has to be a conscious thing. But it's not. It's different because it's not like you end up forgetting everything about the website in particular. With that,
yeah,
it's like canceling a subscription service.
Actually, that's a fair point.
But then again, at the same time, given the fact that throughout the rest of the story, a good chunk of the story, frustratingly, Misa's kind of sitting on Light's beck and call. I don't know if she would just like volunteer to do that. I don't know. It frustrates me.
Yeah, we'll talk about this for part 2, but I think my favorite character, like, it's not someone in the trio. Like, at this point, it's just not. Because I lost faith in Misa Misa a long time ago.
You dropped out of the Misa Misa fandom. You dropped out of the Misa Misa fandom.
I wasn't ever in it. I think that I was like teeter-tottering on the edge. I was like, oh, Misa, just do something smart again.
You were hopscotching.
I was kind of doing a little bit of a hopscotch routine, yeah. And at this point, I think it's Near, who's my favorite.
Yeah, and we'll get
to that later.
Yeah.
That's a controversial pick right there.
Yeah,
I'm with you though.
Yeah, it's a good pick though. I like Near.
Yeah, I was gonna say, me and you.
Everybody likes Near.
Me and you picked the man who killed like 2,000 people. So
was it 2,000?
Oh, it was a lot of people.
Actually,
Do you catch my sarcasm?
Yeah, I got it.
I thought it was more than 2,000.
Actually, let me
Yeah,
check.
I don't know how many people it was, but anyway, you go ahead and
It's
continue.
more than Ted Bundy. That's for
L's
sure.
my favorite.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, so 2 people's favorite is Light, 2 people's is L.
And then you're the
you're the-
outlier who's hopscotching it.
I'm doing a little bit of hopscotch.
Yeah.
Although his petulance towards losing and overconfidence gets on my nerves at times, not to mention over-aggrandization of the Kira case that led to his end ultimately, I thought it was very intriguing that he was the only person to be able to keep intellectually apace with Light and to actually know and actually see a pattern in Kira's killings and come up with a plan accordingly and resort to questionable methods in order to get that far, like that stunt he pulled with Lindell Taylor.
That was brutal.
That was crazy and just a great scene.
Was that guy
Yeah.
American?
No.
Lind L. Taylor?
No idea. He was
Actually,
going.
that's a good point.
He was on death row anyway, so
could've
he was
been one
going
of
to be
those-
executed that day. But I mean, he still had a man murdered on live television, which is, and the man knew. I think he probably told the guy that he was going to be murdered, or lied to him saying that he was going to release him or something like that. Which is that is still very, very sick though.
This is Japan we're talking about. They would never have told him that he was going to be executed that day,
yeah.
or even released that information to the public until after it was already over with.
They
they
literally did that. Like it
That's
was
exactly what he did.
like 2 seconds, like 10 seconds afterwards. Like when Light was, he's such a maniac. He's just laughing. He's like, well, that was fast.
He's like, whoa, what's wrong? Got nothing else to say? And I was like, holy crap, I can't believe that actually worked.
Yeah, that was great.
You know that this is serious when they're releasing that information that he was going to be executed that day. And it's very likely that that second scenario would have happened where he was told that he was going to be freed if he played along with this plan.
Yeah. So we talked about Light, we talked about Misa. You guys, let's talk about L for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
L is by far the most popular character in this
so
whole show.
popular.
Yeah.
I still need to talk about how actually.
Okay, great.
Yeah, 'cause
Perfect segue.
We keep saying that.
Yeah.
Perfect segue.
Okay, so I already mentioned this earlier that L is my favorite character of Death Note. So the thing about him is that how I imagine L versus who he actually was were 2 completely different things, because I think I was more along the lines of thinking that he was going to be look more like Sherlock Holmes or Watari, basically. But instead, he is about Light's age. He looks like he is Light's exact opposite.
He looks like a homeless person.
He moves like a gremlin.
He looks like he's like talking to people face to face is something that is either very new to him or something that he's just never done before. Oh, and also, I think you already know this, but the such opposite, like Light and L are such opposites that they even use different computers. Light uses a Windows PC, and I think L uses an iMac.
Okay.
Even down to their computers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So then
that's why they hate each other so much.
Right. And yeah, we have never. Does Light ever eat sweets? He could hate them.
He likes potato chips.
Oh, right.
Oh, that's of course.
that's true.
Of course.
He only eats chips. That's why he's so skinny.
Yeah,
apples.
What type of what types of chips? Were they barbecue or?
Barbecue's his favorite.
I think it is barbecue.
Well, at least I can respect that choice.
Doritos are too messy.
Okay, never mind.
Actually,
He'd probably find them too messy.
So then with L, the thing about him is how he and L are pretty much complete opposites. However, they both believe in pretty much the same things, which is justice and their own abilities, which for both of them end up being their downfalls. So then, like for instance, with L, it's very clear that he completely believes in the idea of justice, and while a lot of the stuff he ends up doing is unconventional and extreme, you get the intention behind them as far as trying to take down a serial killer. But the issue really starts when he romanticizes his battle against Kira as the ultimate battle between justice, L versus Kira.
Notice he didn't say good and evil.
Yeah.
If I was going to say it was good or evil, I'd just say evil and evil because I am not that good. Also, imitating L is so much fun.
Yeah, that sounds like those motivational quotes that you usually see for like celebrities when you look for them on Google. That would be the top one for L.
It says a lot that the author himself described L as being slightly evil.
And you know what?
Yeah. He really kind of is.
A number of people started to come to that conclusion after he detained Misa, and then L,
We just
and then
watched
Light,
that scene yesterday.
and then
Holy
Light
crap.
and his dad for
50
how long
days.
was it?
It was 50 days.
So just
Yikes.
under 2 months.
Yep.
That's insane.
Did nobody wonder where Misa had
No,
gone?
more importantly, did what happened with Mrs. Yagami? Did she wonder? What did they tell her when her husband and her son hadn't shown up at her home for weeks?
They didn't come home for
Like
dinner.
they didn't come home for weeks. Like did
Light was in college, and Mr. Yagami, I don't know what they told him about.
Well, Mr. Yagami was in a hotel for most of it because he was like working with L and that
so
sort
she
of
was
thing.
alone?
So
She and what's her name?
Sayu.
But guys,
Uh-oh.
Oh, here we go.
they're women.
Yeah.
They don't have to know about the 411 of what the men in their lives are doing.
Yeah,
The men don't have to tell them anything.
I can't really argue with that.
This sounds so.
That sounds
This is
awful.
horrible. But yeah, that was really bad.
Those poor
going to
women.
say-
Oh my gosh.
I was going to say that the question could actually be answered that L mentioned that they had the manager investigated for drug possession, and they had having Misa as like a witness, basically. So then the idea would be just holding her under their detainment for that reason.
Just a couple months.
Yeah.
Just a couple of months.
Is it because they knew that the public would have an aneurysm over finding out that the beloved Misa could potentially be the second Kira?
Yeah. So he didn't tell the public about anything with her being the second Kira.
Yeah.
And with Light, like you said, the whole thing with him staying at college, that's pretty much exactly what happened. Like saying that he's staying in a dorm from here on out, that's pretty much the way it would work. But then, as far as Chief Yagami, they would probably state that he's trying to having to solve the Kira case, and he is one of the few trying to handle that. So basically, he is going to have to stay overnight for an indefinite
Just a
period of
couple
time.
months.
Yeah, but
because of how stressful and insane this case actually is.
But why can? But if she says, well, why can't he just call? Why can't Light or why can't Light or what's his chief? Call me. Why can't they do that?
Phone lines.
Yeah,
phone
they
lines
just
are
say
down.
like, there's no phone lines are down. There's no Wi-Fi.
It's been a month.
The Wi-Fi's been gone for a long time. Well, what can I tell you?
Actually,
We're
that's
saying Wi-Fi. What's that?
The phone lines are down.
Play dumb. What's Wi-Fi?
Not that down one. Well, that's if Matsuda would have to explain it.
And I think keep in mind that for the first 7 days of Light's captivity.
Oh, was that this one he was kidnapped?
Yeah, what for Light's captivity were when he was under the detainment of L, because he basically said that he might think that he's Kira, but he's not sure. So Light turned himself in because he claimed that he thought he might be. So it might be best if he just is under that captivity for a bit.
When is this?
This is before he loses memories of the Death Note. So then, for the first 7 days, Light knows that he is Kira. He's just playing them this time. But then he tells Ryuk to get rid of the Death Note, which is a signal That's a signal that he renounced the Death Note. So then Ryuk ends up leaving, and then Light ends up losing his memories.
He becomes a good boy.
And then saying that he knows that he isn't Kira, which completely confuses L, and that's pretty much what he's like for pretty much the next 2 months.
Yeah, that was really good. That whole thing was so good.
His eyes were so wide and filled with hope.
Yeah, honestly,
the
combo of his eyes being just so much bigger and him looking like you said, like a freaking good boy in combination with his long hair. Longer hair. He looked like a totally different person. It's very surreal and strange. And Chief Yagami ends up becoming just terrifying. The scene after that.
Oh, was that the thing in the car?
With the gun, with the gun.
Yeah.
Was there a blank in that gun? Because if there was, they wouldn't be able to hear anything. So that's gonna be a sound that loud in a car is just gonna be freaking deafening.
Yeah, that was a blank.
Well,
it was terrifying.
I state my case.
That was such a scary scene.
Yeah. So while we're still on the subject of L, one of the things that we mentioned was how personally, I think is L more popular than Light. What do you guys think?
I think
he's the category.
He's the most iconic character alongside Light, but I think L is in fact the most popular character.
He's less obvious that he's just the bad guy, whereas Light is frequently portrayed as what he is, which is the egomaniacal supervillain with the magic notebook.
Yeah, L has got a gang of fangirls.
Of course, he does.
Yeah.
A lot of fan art.
The people just feel endeared by how he comes off as an offbeat, socially inept candy cruncher, and how that seems to fuel his efficacy in all these cases.
Yeah.
And then they're thinking like, he likes candy? I like candy too.
And I think it's also the fact that obviously he's smart and he does these weird things. Like, remember how he got onto the couch yesterday when Misa instead of going on like a normal person, like I thought he would, he threw himself over the armchair, over the arm of the couch, and just slid on it.
Also,
yeah, it was great.
Before we got started with watching the anime, I remember that you guys were talking about how L eats a lot of candy. I was not prepared for just how much candy. Like every other scene, he's like munching on like a parfait.
Is that what he like always consumes?
Does he like?
Yep.
How is he?
How is he alive?
How is he still like so thin? How is arteries not just in a chokehold all the time?
He should have diabetes, but maybe he's got to take something to help with that.
Brain power. It's the brain power.
His mind is working so hard. He's able to compensate for the fact with his body.
Mister, you also said yesterday he could have lived until he was like 75 or something like that, based on what Misa saw with his death date, right?
His diabetes for sure. That's what was gonna get him.
Yeah. He just closed his eyes and die when he's 75. Because you remember, spoiler alert, when he does die, it was so peaceful.
That's the only time we've ever seen him close his eyes because he doesn't sleep.
Yeah, no.
Probably consumes a lot of chocolate to make sure that he doesn't need to sleep. Because apparently what's in chocolate helps you to be able to have a lot more energy and not require as much sleep as you would otherwise.
Crap. I think that might be. That's probably why he eats so much sweets.
Yeah, actually,
it makes you not require sleep.
Because I remember that,
or at least not as much sleep.
Because I remember
or any
that
if you eat enough.
During the whole handcuff saga, since they had to be cuffed even when Light was asleep, Light would just be asleep in bed because at this point he's a normal person, and then L is still doing whatever. Does he like work on the Kramer thing, sort of logic, where he only sleeps for like 2 or 3 hours, 2 or 3 hours or something like that?
What? So he's thinking like in the middle of the night, he's like, Light, hey Light,
what? What time is it?
You
it's
say,
4.
I just wanted to see
in the
if you're
mo-
still awake.
I wanted to see if you were still awake. I was debating whether or not you'd be able to. I was debating whether or not you'd be able to kill people as Kira on your sleep, but it appears you're sleeping normally.
What are you talking about?
Well, I have this theory on how Kira might kill a person, and I want to judge your reaction. And considering how you're in a considerably more weakened state since you've just woken up, I'll be able to adequately judge your reactions. Are you ready?
No.
First question.
What are you, crazy, Ryuzaki? Go to sleep.
Now I'm picturing like him doing like a Julius, it's this Julius style thing where he's constantly giving his theory on Kira to judge Light's reaction. So like, at that night when he's brushing his teeth, when he's on the computer working on something. And when he goes to the fridge to eat something, and then brushing his teeth again that night, and about to go to bed, he's like, "Okay, I get it. They're not getting any reaction out of me whatsoever. What if you see any kind of reaction on my face?" Well, you do look very angry, so that's a reaction in and of itself. Yeah.
It's funny how some of that's actually canon that he does, constantly probe Light. That's just taken to another extreme.
Yeah, it'd be funny if at one point he's like, "Hey, Light," and then Light starts screaming at him, and then he's like, "Just wanted to ask you if you wanted some cake." But the fact that you're reacting like this must mean you are Kira.
And the fact that, I guess another thing, the fact that we know Light and L so well based on the dynamic that is like, we know that's probably how they would react in this situation. Just goes to show like this dynamic. There's not only just L just by himself as a character, because even Light and L by themselves are still interesting characters, but them interacting with each other is just so different.
It makes it even better.
It makes it
So
even
good.
better. It was one of the reasons why this whole thing is so iconic. Okay, so I love monsters, so I'll put that first. And I think in Light and L, but with Light and L, so those two things, most iconic cat and mouse in anime of all time, mainly because of how different these characters are, because it's so good. Granted, I guess when you compare it with both of these characters, with both of those cat and mouse, Tenma and Johan and Light and L, there's only one good person.
Oh, that's a good point. Like one categorically good person.
Yeah, because
Well,
Dr. Tenma's the GOAT.
Yeah, that's the good. I mean, I guess that's that's okay, because Tenma is just one of the
Shining star of hope.
Yeah, he's a shining star of
in
hope. One of
society.
the best who's ever lived. Also, when you were saying that, it just reminded me of this one meme that I remember seeing with from the episode we watched the other day. Where Elle is saying, "Hey, Light, do you want to go get some cake in the cafeteria?" And then Light
craving
is,
some cake.
Yeah, Elle saying the cake in the cafeteria, and then Light is thinking, "I wonder if I can be able to kill him in the next couple of hours."
Yeah, I think it's a panel from the manga, and Light is thinking, it's too early to kill him now. And then Ella's getting up and putting on his shoes like, "Hey, Light, do you want to get some cake in the cafeteria?" And then I think the captain says, "That's it. That's the whole anime." Yeah. So that's just...
Pretty much.
So, you guys want to talk about the Kira Taskforce, since we spent a long time talking about these other guys?
Yeah. So, who is Ide again?
I don't know. So we're just talking about the ones
I do
we...
not remember that
I
fella.
just remember. Yeah.
Let me get him up.
Was he the guy who was being Misa's very
No,
enthusiastic?
that was Mogi.
We love
manager?
Mogi.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we love Mogi. Misa!
Yeah. We don't know a lot about those other two, except for the whole deal with Mogi, really giving it his best to try.
Yeah.
So, how are you looking forward to working with the super group, Misa? He really, he did pretty good, actually.
Yeah, he sounded like such a jolly fellow.
Okay, so this is Ide. And
he looks
I do not remember
That's a
that.
heck of a glare.
Well, here's the thing. The reason why you don't remember him is because he's the one who quit early on before he met Al.
Why'd he quit?
And the reason why is
It's getting crazy.
because it was getting crazy.
People were dying all over the place.
Yeah, and it was becoming less and less basic procedure for the police that he just decided to leave before even entering the building to meet Al for the first time.
He had a family, right?
Uh,
So, is that what he's worrying about? Or?
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason why he's worrying about. And in case you're wondering, he's actually friends with Aizawa. So then when Aizawa ends up leaving, but then when they return, Ide and Aizawa teamed up to bring the police force in order to help the Kira Taskforce trap Higuchi, basically. And
Everyone
then he
gets
ends up, and then that's how Ide actually becomes an official member of the task force. And then he becomes part of part 2, and honestly, that's kind of where his role is a lot more diminished, because then, like, the rest of the task force has something, Chief Yagami, because Chief Yagami needs no introduction. Matsuda is already quite prominent, but then Aizawa is the first person to suspect Light of being Kira.
Man, I love Aizawa. He's so freaking cool.
Mogi ends up helping him out. But then with Ide,
He's just there.
I think he plays off of Matsuda really well, because he and Matsuda are like pretty much complete opposites. But I don't exactly remember all that much about what happens with Ide in part 2.
I feel a little bad about that, honestly.
Yeah, Ide is honestly he's probably the most underrated character in the Kira Task Force, so I just decided to bring up some information that I remember about
That's
him.
good.
You give him some time to shine.
We'll have to watch some scenes with him, like, at some point.
Yeah, show some EA love.
Yeah,
Yeah.
show some Ide lava.
Yeah, give him some love, because, I feel a little bad that we didn't even really remember who he was.
Yeah,
But
well,
I totally get why. It was like a very human reaction with wanting to back out,
Yeah.
Because especially if he has a family and stuff, he could die like the next day with being in a case like that. So I totally get the fear, but good for him with coming back with his friend and stuff, because Aizawa, like, he's awesome. He's really brave and confident and everything too, but even he was scared,
Yep.
So, I do like how human the characters can be.
Yeah.
So
And
that's pretty cool.
it helps that one reason why I really love the Yotsuba group arc is how, and that makes it really different from the rest of the story, in my opinion, is that basically everyone kind of gets their time to shine and be significant to the plot. I think
even Matsuda, though they really gave him a hard time with giving him that stupid voice.
Yeah, well, that's because he stumbled into the plot. Then they had to fake his own death, and then they had to,
It was horrible.
do the whole thing with revealing who Kira was, and giving him like the most humiliating voice disguising thing imaginable. He sounded like a mouse, but again, it's Matsuda we're talking about, so I guess that.
Why did they do that? Did L do that?
I'm sure it
He probably did.
was
Because
L's idea.
the thing, like, poor Matsuda.
We'll probably include an audio bite so you can hear what we mean.
Yeah, it's so funny.
So L's like hatred or something like that of Matsuda it's appalling to me sometimes, because it seems like he'll treat him just like a big brother would a little brother. But no, he just treats him like he kind of hates him.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, one of the things like that kind of shows that is with when the Kira killings were resumed, when they had Light and Misa locked up, and Matsu was like, "Hey, we should tell Light and Misa just so we can let them out. No, we should do that." And then the first thing L did was he slapped Matsuda's hand away. It was like, "No, Matsuda! Please don't, Mr. Matsuda, don't do that." Yeah, because L freaked out a little bit there. And then I think, if I remember correctly, then he told Light that the Kira killings still haven't resumed. And
still haven't resolved.
Still haven't resumed, just to test to see what would happen.
Or resolved.
Well, they haven't come back, because the thing that Matsu was going to tell them was that the Kira killings continued, which basically would have meant that Light and Misa weren't Kira.
And so L wanted so badly to be right.
Yeah.
So if I remember correctly, I think he did. Matsuda actually did tell Chief Yagami that, like, he managed to get a hold of the microphone and tell Chief Yagami that at least. But then when he was going to tell Light and Misa, that's when
L freaked out.
That's when
I
L
really
freaked
like
out.
that moment, honestly.
And L already didn't like the fact that Matsuda just did that and told Chief Yagami. But then Matsuda was going to do the same thing for Light and Misa. That's when he just kind of freaked out for a second.
Yeah.
Also, I just learned this. I had to look the TV chart page a bit for Ide. We'll get back on track on the topic for a bit. But the thing is that apparently Ide, he doesn't have a great love life, but he's like mindful of women's feelings, and he's the one who is most outraged about Light cheating on Misa and manipulating Takada.
Oh, really?
Oh, okay, so he's a man of honor.
Yeah.
We love
Ide.
Ide. We love him.
Yeah.
Please, give Ide some love in the comments.
Say Ide love. Shout out to Ide love in the comments down below.
Shout out to Ide.
Yeah, if you've gotten this far in the podcast, shout out.
Okay.
Whereas, if I remember correctly, sorry to interrupt. If I remember correctly, Matsuda saw it more. I think he might have. He kind of compared it to like a show that he watched, like the whole thing with how
He was getting in. He was really getting into it.
Who?
Matsuda. He was like treating it like it was a soap opera.
The hot
Yeah,
guy.
that's-
He's treating the case.
the thing with
the love triangle.
The love triangle with
I didn't know we were
Misa.
still talking about.
Yeah, the love
that.
triangle with Misa and Takada. Matsuda was kind of being entertained by this.
It is entertaining.
I have
Like,
I have thoughts on that
yeah.
development.
The thing
but
about
that's
Matsuda,
later.
Matsuda seems like the kind of guy who would date to marry. And then with Light, he's like, oh, these chicks like me. I'll just let him hang around to make me feel important.
Yeah, it was all part
He's
of the
become
plan.
god of the new world at this point, so he's pretty important at this point.
Yeah, but, Light isn't God of the New World. Kira is.
Yeah.
So
Oh, okay, I
people
see.
aren't going to be going up to him saying, it's so great how you killed that serial killer. Like, they...
And then I'll be like,
It's not like
don't
They'd
mention
be
it.
saying that in Discord, but they're not going to be like...
Yeah, you're right. Like, let me go on the Death Note Reddit page. I want to see how many people.
Some people, there are going to be some wackos who are saying, Light was right. Everyone say Light was right. Say it with me.
Yeah, that's almost as bad as the people who say Aaron was right.
Yeah.
But by the way, he was not right. He hated what he had to do himself.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Even Aaron knew he wasn't right.
Yeah.
But I had something I wanted to say.
I'd be
But
even more
I totally
concerned
forgot
with
about it.
people saying that Griffith was right. If we're going down the names of the 4 did nothing wrong horsemen.
of
There are
the
some who do.
apocalypse. There
Yeah,
are some who do. I don't understand.
I've never watched Berserk. I've never watched or read Berserk. I don't know a lot about it, but I know that is and that is definitely not true.
Heck,
anyway,
we're probably not gonna.
I'd rather not.
Yeah.
I can live
no.
without
We
it.
don't
I'm not
honestly.
ready.
We do not need that
No.
kind of violence and vileness in our
Yeah.
life.
So anyway, back to the Kira Taskforce. I will say that one thing that when I read the manga, one thing I was really hoping that would happen that didn't end up happening was I still wish this. I wish that Matsuda was used as to basically be a foil of who Light could have been.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
He could
like
have been a good guy.
you still, you can still make him a little dense you can still make him dense in areas. I'm not saying to get rid of that. And it's one of those things where you have a comic relief character and you kind of have to, and them being funny is like their only thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I've never heard of anyone who said they didn't like Matsuda.
Yeah, exactly. So I will say that one thing I wish they could have done was to kind of show that since he was obviously very close with Chief Yagami, he was with him all from the second episode in his first appearance actually, and when L was first introduced. So they are able to do that where he was like sticking with him thick and thin to be able to. Catch Kira. And there was also an interesting development in part 2 when he was actually starting to think like, well, maybe Kira is right, and we're the bad guys for trying to look for him, which is not gonna lie, very reasonable reaction
Very
to have at this
interesting.
point because things are looking very, very bad. But basically showing that this is who Light could have been if he was still working with his dad and if he still had that sense of justice and honor, and maybe giving him a hobby. Now that I think about
I just
it.
had a thought.
Yeah.
That first of all, yeah, that's very true about Matsuda and Light. Matsuda is interesting. I think Light, he doesn't have really a sense of humor, does he?
Well, the only sense of humor he has is
It's
when
like-
he's like all sadistic and that sort of thing.
So it's a
Yeah.
cruel one.
Yeah, he just has a cruel sense of humor.
The only thing and even with like when he's now you mentioned it, one of the only times I can remember him kind of telling a bit of a joke is when he was going to do that thing with getting Ray Pember's name, and when it involved him going on a date, and then Light just said, "Yeah, you're not very popular with the ladies, are you?" And Ryuk was like, "Huh." So even
Yeah.
with that, he's making fun of
That's
Ryuk.
true.
So yes, I see what you mean.
Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, with Light, with his sense of humor, it's when he's making fun of people.
Yeah, exactly. Making himself
it's-
feel better.
Yeah, cruel sense of humor, just putting other people down, and it's just bad person, bad guy.
Uh-huh.
No,
So
no
Yeah.
fun.
So he derives pleasure from at the expense of others.
Matsuda can be goofy, but not too goofy. You know, he's a good guy. And I just had a thought.
A lot of it's unintentional on Matsuda's part.
It is.
actually.
It's a part of his personality. I had a thought about why L doesn't like Matsuda so much. Matsuda has such simple solutions for these complex issues. Like he combats L's like overthinking with pure simple like logic.
Facts and
logic. It's like L, he like overcomplicates everything. Matsuda just sees things, you know, black and white. Like he just sees it as like, oh, you know, if Kira is killing all of these bad people, isn't that a good thing for us good people? Are we the bad guys for going after this guy who's basically saving a lot of people from, you know, pain and stuff like that? It's like, you know, good point, Matsuda. That's a pretty good point. You know, just he's put in a little bit of you know, a mature conversation into the chat. So, you know, that's interesting. But I think L hates it whenever anyone combats his own intelligence.
And then there was also the deal with, remember when he tried to follow the Yotsuba group and then he almost got caught?
Yeah.
And then, like, it was Elle who called him and pretending to be someone else. Hey, you want to go get some beers?
I forgot about that.
Yeah, you remember when Mr. told me about that? I was like, oh, he's a genius.
I need to see that.
Because he was, because
need
he
to
was
see
just
that.
absolutely cornered, and they were saying like, "Who are you? What are you here for?"
Yeah.
And they all had the look where there's like, as soon as this guy leaves the room, whoever's Kira, he's gonna kill him. But then it was at that exact moment while he was explaining why he was there, when Elle called him and they said put it on speakerphone, and Elle was saying like, "Hey Matsu, what's up? I wonder if you want to get some beers."
You're not in trouble again, are you?
Yeah,
He sounded really drunk.
I'm in a bit of trouble.
And then he comes up the phone and he says, "Matsu's in big trouble. Apparently, he's in big trouble. Apparently." So I was like, that sort of thing.
It was very clever.
Yeah, it's really good.
I think he's like, Matsu's in trouble. We need to figure out what to do. Anyway, you want to go get some beers or something later on?
Yeah, I think Matsuda is just too good.
Yeah.
He's too good for these people. You know.
He's like the Jesse Pinkman of the group, the most morally
Yeah.
upright, and the one who like sort of sees as what's going on, and that ends up coming to a head with his big moment at the end of the series, which is one of my top 3 favorite moments of the series.
I don't know the big moment.
Yeah, you know the thing with the guy when he shoots light. Do you remember?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was great.
I was like, are we still talking about Jesse? Here, but yeah, that was fantastic.
Say you want this. Nothing happens until I hear you say it. Yeah, except that's not what happened. Although that's not what happened.
It was a little bit more forceful,
Yeah, but yeah, Matsuda is just too good of a person, and I like how he liked Sayu. It was like, whoa, I did not expect that, but you know what? I support it. I wish he got a little bit more of a role, like other than just being kidnapped.
Yeah.
Or like
you mean Sayu?
Sayu.
Or like the
But
kidnapping
yeah.
thing had more screen time in the anime.
Or if the
but
kidnapping
we'll
had more screen time.
But we'll get to that.
Was that the whole thing with, taking the helmets off?
No, that's
that
was in
a
the
separate
manga,
thing.
right?
Yeah, actually, they showed everything with the kidnapping was actually showed in its entirety in the anime. It's the thing that happens afterwards involving Sidoh and the American government that was like drastically shortened, which honestly really bothers me because it was a really good scene it was a really good like arc in the original manga.
That whole scene is insane. Like how the president got involved and when that sort of thing. It's just it's like terrifying.
So we're almost done with this section. We just need to talk about the gods of death and then the next L's.
Yep.
And then we'll talk about the themes and the moral conflict of the story, which is part 3 of this here podcast.
Yeah. Now, the gods of death. Well, how the heck did this artist come up with these freaking designs? Interestingly, if I remember correctly, Ryuk was actually originally he looked quite a bit more like Mikami. He is actually used to be supposed to look like a pretty normal, handsome guy. But the main reason why the author decided to make him look completely different was because he was worried that he would end up looking more handsome than Light. And Light being handsome is supposed to be like a pretty major part, a pretty big part of the story because it makes him seem more unassuming. And so he goes from a pretty normal looking guy, who, like I said, actually looks a bit more like a cross between Mikami and Dobby, to just completely insane.
Dobby's a free elf.
Yeah, this is completely insane Joker. How do I even begin
Joker
to describe?
Beetlejuice type of fella.
Did
Yeah,
nobody
that's
catch
right.
what I said?
Yeah, we heard it. Yeah. Anyway, so coming up with the designs of these Shinigami, I don't know how he does it. And another thing I think that helps is that obviously Ryuk and Light's dynamic is also a legendary part of this anime, and a lot of people consider Ryuk's role to be kind of an interesting sort of audience. What do you call it? Not
Surrogate.
Audience surrogate kind of thing, because he's just watching it all and he's not helping at all.
Yeah, but he knows everything that's going on. He knows everything that's going on. Like, he's not left in the dark about this stuff. Only sometimes he is. But mostly it does feel like he is us. And we are him.
Yeah, just staying back, watching it, and whenever something funny's
Cackling.
happening, like,
Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot how much he laughs until we watched that episode yesterday.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting about Rem.
Yeah.
I wish he had more, well, not screen time necessarily, but just we learned more about her. And I guess I feel that way about the Gods of Death, but maybe us not learning more about them was a way to show that they are kind of above us, in quotation marks.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say because they're not people.
They're not.
And I think as far as Rem goes, I'm pretty sure looking back on it, she gets pretty much the same treatment as Ryuk does, except with her, the only difference with her is that she plays a more active role.
And she cares about Misa.
she's
Yeah,
a
about
genuine
that.
threat. She's a genuine threat
Yeah.
to Light.
The
Yeah.
only
She feels more responsible for Misa rather than Ryuk doesn't feel responsible for, Light. He's just there for the entertainment.
And the apples.
Yeah, and the apples. The only question I have is why does Rem care so much about Misa though?
Yeah,
it's like obviously that jealous the Shinigami died so that she doesn't get murdered, right? And so that makes sense. But Misa doesn't exactly treat Rem very well because all she does is ask her questions about the Death Note and how those things work. And I remember one specific thing with how can you kill Shinigami, and then Rem tells her about it. And then the first thing Misa says is, "What a beautiful way to kill." And then Rem just gives her a look like,
The disrespect.
the look on her face is just, I mean, like this pure disgust.
She looks disgusted or offended basically all the time, though.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I was just saying yesterday that it could be because Rem maybe she had a horrible teenage daughter when she was, on Earth.
Yeah, I think the fan theory, by the way, with that is that people who write names in the Death Note and in the human world, when they die, they become Shinigami, which makes sense.
It does.
So and honestly, that theory is very interesting.
Yeah, thanks. But, I mean, it makes me have more questions. It's like, does she know how badly she's being treated? She's just going to take this disrespect.
Does she care?
And, like, why does she care so much? And then Misa doesn't give a crap.
Yeah, that's like after Rem is dead because after she killed L to protect Misa, I don't think Misa gives a dang about it.
It would be more interesting. I think we all think it would be more interesting if Misa cared about Rem, because obviously Misa's parents are dead. It would kind of make sense if Misa latched on to this mother figure.
That's an interesting point.
Or
Who is a god of death?
Who was a god of death, and like that's
goddess of death, but you know what I mean.
And that's just a really it's intriguing.
yeah. Or if Rem does die, if for the good chunk of part one, actually, come to think of it, would have been interesting if for a good chunk of part one would have been Light slowly being able to manipulate Misa, and since we've seen before that Misa is a bit of a very crafty loose wire in terms of using the Death Note, this sort of thing would take time. But after he kills L and after Rem's death, then he would probably lie about the circumstances of her death, like saying some more stuff about how he died to protect her because she was important and mattered, so they'd be able to bring about the new world. That would be the point when she's wrapped around Light's finger. You know what I mean?
That is just cruel.
Yeah, exactly.
It would make more sense if with Misa, it's like with some characters we're like, oh, I just wanted to be loved. In every anime, there's that person, and Misa would be that person. If she was written better in Death Note, and that would just be very interesting. if she just latches on to, it's a dangerous thing that real people do, and that girls.
Stockholm syndrome.
It's not that exactly, but a real thing that both genders do, but specifically girls, like if they are not loved or if they aren't shown care or stuff like that by their parents or by their dad or something like that, then they could latch on to the first guy who acts like he cares about them, or they could latch on to the first person who just is attentive, or what's the word? Attentive, and seems like they care. So it would make sense if she feels that way towards Rem, then she's absolutely like torn up after her death, and then in her vulnerable state,
then light comes in, like
once
again,
knight in shining, like a light in shining armor.
Yeah,
I think she actually says that too.
She does say that.
I know.
Yeah. Thus, the thing in the opening with her, on the ground, and then he's there with a hand outstretched, like, let me help you.
It's just how Light sees himself.
It is, but it's also kind of how she sees him. It would make sense if she saw him as, her
The one
savior, the one who saved her.
So basically, like after Rem died to save her, then Light came swooping in to help take the place.
Yeah.
And then it's just very, very, very easy to use the rest of that.
But she's still crafty and clever like she was before.
Yeah.
But she's just at this point kind of
Under Light's thumb.
Yeah, under Light's thumb.
She's broken. So
And only Light knows the full truth, that he just basically manipulated the whole situation.
yeah,
Man, Light sucks.
only he has the
great.
glue, and he has the glue. And you know what? He's only gonna use tape, and he's gonna use tape on only some parts of it. He's not gonna tell her the whole truth. She's never gonna get the full picture of the painting of the truth that he shattered.
This allegory is kind
Where
of
are you
running away
going
from
with
me.
this?
I'm saying he has the glue, and he's not gonna use it. Gosh darn it!
And he's gonna use tape instead.
He's just gonna use tape.
like
it's
Scotch tape or
ma-
duct tape.
masking
Not
tape,
even
duct
clear tape.
Wait,
Not even clear tape. He's
But-
gonna use
Masking tape.
masking tape.
But can you use one of those things where you just put it on the wall, and then they want to take it off, you just pull it down at the bottom?
What if no one has tape? Not a single person has tape.
Why about push
Not a
pens?
single person has tape.
What about push pens?
Now damage it.
Okay, cool. Okay, fair enough.
Okay, I don't know where I was
Where?
going with
Staples.
this.
Staples.
It made sense until you guys ruined it.
Staples to the rescue.
Okay, Mac, what do you have to read?
Okay, so on the subject of Light being just an awful person, I have an approximate list of all the murders that Light has committed, like all of the people that he's killed. Okay, so according to this, it says, again, this is just an estimate, the number of people that Light has killed tops out at 242,000.
200,000?
112. Also, this is pretty nice because it includes a list of the amount of people that Higuchi, Mikami, and Misa have also killed. Higuchi, of course, being the Kira for the Yotsuba group.
Ah, that guy was the
That
worst.
guy who just sucks. So, again, this is from the Google AI overview. I'm going to have to fact check this because it's pretty interesting. He killed 8,704 people. Mikami, this was a little different because Mikami is known for being extremely diligent, highly focused, and most likely has OCD. So he killed about 446 people daily for 61 days, and that caps out at 27,816 because, again, OCD. And Misa killed about 392 people, which is still in the triple digits,
That's it?
but that's less than the other people.
These
And
men
the
are
fact-
insane.
Yeah, the fact
These
that we have to
people-
say that's it for the one who's killed
See
300
who-
people.
Yeah, the one who's
really
killed
sets
almost
the bar.
400 people. Okay, and let's see. Yeah, you do the math.
Man, how's there anyone left in the world?
Well, because there's
world's
8
a
billion
big
because there's 8 billion people in the world, and also because of the whole thing with wars basically stopping, and people, whenever if you do something like scratch your car when accidentally opening up their your car door, then people say like, "I'm gonna put your face and name on the internet." Ugh.
Everyone was like,
Everyone groaned.
nah.
You're like,
Seriously? Yeah, go.
kid?
It's like, yeah, go ahead. I'd like to see you try. Hey, buddy, I'm still alive. Kira hasn't done anything to me yet. Hey, did you put my name and face? Did you put my name and face on the internet?
But at the same time, you're kind of tempting fate. So
Yeah.
I guess that's where the paranoia comes from.
Was that in part 2?
That was in part 2.
That was ridiculous. How many people did Light kill over the
Many
time skip?
Many. He went on a spree, like right after L's death, and one of my favorite scenes in the series when he was doing the whole conducting thing and just on top of the building and just the freaking melodrama, like with the epic music playing and the.
It's weird. The melodrama in this show is just so over the top and ridiculous, but it's also great.
We cringe every time, but it's also delightful.
Yeah, it's so over the top, but it's just so perfect at the same time.
Yeah. Oh, and while we're still talking
no
about
subtlety.
While we're still talking about the gods of death, first of all, another thing that I wanted to mention with Ryuk is the fact that he's a real sadist, and like how he really, really wanted like to do the ideal just so he could cut his lifespan in half. And for example, like remember
Ryuk got really scary.
Yeah, like even Light was freaked out because he really wanted him to do it. And even when Light was freaking out about the whole deal with L, outsmarting him, remember, I wanted to tell you that I'm L. Great scene. And the first thing he said was, hey, how about you go ahead and do the ideal? That way you can kill him that easily, right?
No, you do understand! I can't do the ideal! That's my favorite scene in the whole series.
Oh, right. Okay.
The main thing to show, I mean, you've seen before, but Light is just a maniac. He just goes from raging to just laughing like a psychopath.
Yeah. And
he would definitely be abusive. He was in a relationship in that state.
Yeah. I'll kill her myself with my hands if I have to.
Yeah, I wouldn't count on that. Anyway, so and another thing about Light, about Ryuk being a sadist and showing that he just completely views Light as entertainment is the thing with you remember obviously there's the end. Remember when he ends up killing Light in the manga? In the manga, you guys have seen this. I think we showed you, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Believe so.
Yeah, when he killed Light in the warehouse, after Light had been shot by Matsuda and Light was crawling on the ground, and he said, Ryuk, write down Near's name! Do it! Write down a name! And then Ryuk was like, okay, I'll write down a name. And then Light was like, ha! Sucks to be you, Near! Look, Ryuk's gonna write your name down, and you're all going to die! And then Ryuk was like, yeah, the name I'm going to be writing down, Light, is yours. You've had your fun. I've had my fun, but it's all over now. And then he actually shows Light his name in the Death Note, and he's like, "Look, there's your name, your full name right there in the Death Note. So it looks like you're gonna die in under a minute." And then Light's reaction with that was, "I'm gonna die, but I don't want to die." And it's just like. It's very satisfying. Both deaths in the manga and the anime are really good. But just the pure sadism of Ryuk showing him his name in the Death Note is just perfect, and it's terrifying.
And this is why we need to be nice to ChatGPT. Because it's like, for instance, Light was just abusing Ryuk pretty much for years. And, calling him names, yelling at him, and all this stuff, and just being mean to him. And when in reality, Ryuk had all the power.
Yeah, to be fair, Ryuk did say he was going to write down his name in the Death Note when it was his time to die.
Yeah, but it's like, this thing that we think we have under our control has never been in our control, and it's more powerful than any of us. So that just reminded me, I was like, that's like ChatGPT. That's like AI.
So what you're saying is that ChatGPT was a Shinigami all along?
I'm not
What's the ideal? Getting ChatGPT 5 and paying the subscription price?
That's up to interpretation.
What's that? What would the Death Note? Is that like the actual ChatGPT thing? Hey, what would a Death Note be like on computer?
Okay,
anyway? Okay. So
I think I've shown you guys the epilogue, but I don't think I've shown you the manga version of Light's death.
I don't recall us seeing it.
I have to show you guys at some point later. Actually, Light's speech is much longer here.
It's so long, man.
And I'd really like to hear one of you guys read it.
Oh, I volunteer.
Excellent.
And also, on that note, there's in the whole manga, there's 108 chapters. So I think that was the number that the guy was going for, which is why he was padding out the pages with all of that other stuff.
That explains why the speech was so long too. Also, so one more god of death we need to mention, and this is probably be much shorter. It's Sidoh.
A boy Sidoh. He's just so pathetic.
Hey, Ryuk.
Have you seen my Death Note anywhere?
He was actually, by the way, he was actually handing out flyers.
Are we talking about Sidoh?
Yeah. By the way, he
I
was
love
actually handing out flyers in the Shinigami world because after 4 years, he just realized that he lost his Death Note. I guess time works differently in Shinigami world. So he was handing out flyers on what the Death Note looks like and who to give it back to. But since it's Shinigami world, nobody gives a dang. So he just ended up giving up and he went to look for it himself.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
So is he just seen as like the loser?
By the way, obviously you guys already know this, but Sidoh is a Shinigami whose Death Note was pickpocketed by Ryuk.
And then he just
and then he just threw it in the human world. So that's obviously what Sidoh. So what Sidoh was going to do was that he just wanted his Death Note back, and then that ends up making a very interesting dynamic when he ends up meeting with Mello and the gang. Right?
Yeah, Mello
Yep.
and the mob. You mean to say?
Mello the Menace. He's what a bad kid.
Yeah, Mikhail, Mello the Menace, Keel.
I don't know what's worse, all that murdering and crime stuff that he did, or that haircut.
It got better, thankfully. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, when Sidoh picked up that Death Note
You
and tag tossed
catch.
it between those mafia members, I wasn't thinking about the fact that they would be able to see him and know that Shinigami exists and everything that comes with that. I was focusing more on the fact that he actually had arms. Since we couldn't see we couldn't see them before, since they were all folded up into his body like that, like an insect.
He's a Shinigami. He writes in a Death Note. You think he's like a VeggieTales character or something with
That, or he uses his cape wings or something like that. The point is, the fact of the matter is, I didn't know that he had arms.
That's fair. He did look kind of like an insect.
I love the Mafia's reaction as well.
Then they all started shooting him.
Yeah.
Reasonable reaction.
Honestly, yeah, he looks
looks horrifying.
He's a loser, but he looks horrifying.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, this wasn't in the manga. This wasn't in the anime, which I was very disappointed on. When Light, after the whole thing with when poor Chief Yagami ended up dying to get the Death Note back, the first thing that when Light gave Sidoh back his Death Note, Sidoh held it up in his weird Excitoid arms. It's like, hooray! And then flew away.
Did he say that?
Yeah.
Yeah, he said
I
that.
like him. He's my favorite. He's gotta be my favorite god of death at this point.
He is by far the simplest Shinigami in the whole show.
All he wanted was his Death Note back. Like that was literally his only goal.
And he got it.
He probably only had one goal in life too.
It is really weird.
none.
Because he's got the insect face and he's hooray! And then he just flew away.
That's actually kind of adorable.
That was hilarious.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I wish they had that in the anime.
Yeah, I was really surprised when we saw that they cut out an entire arc from the
in
anime.
favor of what?
I
Love
would
triangle.
Say, I would say it's in favor of the love triangle because, like I said before, I don't have that much of an issue with the love triangle itself. It's the fact they cut out, that specific arc, which has a lot to do with, which shows how much Mello ends up learning about the Death Note in the first place, how he ends up using it against Light's allies, and how the U.S. government ends up getting involved, and what ends up happening with the raid of Mello's hideout with the U.S. Army ends up completely freaking out the president, which results in him, committing suicide.
Yeah, we're definitely going to be talking about
Wild.
that whole thing a little bit, but
That is
Yeah.
that is so crazy. I wish they kept that because it's just. I think the fact that this goes from a kid picking up a Death Note, a kid picking up a emo goth notebook in a school, to the president killing himself because he was afraid of being mind controlled to start nuclear war.
Okay, so now we're talking about the little L's,
Yeah.
The little L's,
the next L's,
the lowercase L's.
the two of those from Wammy's house. We have to talk about Wammy's house because the man is
He's got it. Some skeletons.
wacko
Yeah.
because they're basically child soldiers.
yeah. So this
You know?
won't be too long because we'll definitely get to the other two, and we just don't know a lot about Watari. But he probably has the potential of being the most interesting character in the whole anime.
Definitely. He's
But
got
he's
a
totally
past.
fine with sitting. But he's totally fine with sitting in the background, and he's making the whole school to basically help raise these detectives who will be able to solve these mysteries and the like.
Yeah.
And it's just completely insane. But yeah, like I said, we don't know anything about him.
Is he British?
Yeah. Oh, he's very British.
Okay.
He's Alfred Pennyworth levels of British.
One more thing I wanted to say about the Shinigami, but didn't know if I'd be able to have another opening since we were talking about the other orphans in the Wammy's house at this point. It's that apparently, just like Ryuk's love of apples or Sidoh's taste for chocolate, a lot of the other Shinigami have certain food items that they like. For one, it's blueberries. For another, it might be bananas. And they will venture into the mortal realm to satisfy these cravings, follow instructions in exchange for them, basically doing anything that an alcoholic would do in order to get that fix. Ryuk even makes the comparison himself.
I forgot that Sidoh likes chocolate.
I forgot about that too.
And he's eating them in his weird
Canary mouth.
It's so good.
It's so good.
Yeah, now I'm imagining like if
Chocolate.
you're in a shopping line or something like that at the grocery store, and like one of those like candies or gum or whatever just floats away from it just floats away from the shelf or something like that.
Yeah, and then it like as it's floating away,
hits someone in
it's
the-
ripped open, it's shoved into an invisible mouth, and then it blows a bubble
No,
as they walk out of.
no, I'm picturing like a guy, someone who's working there, just like sees the bag and it's like snatches it out and is about to walk away, but then he gets pushed away and it's
like the Super Bowl commercial with the aliens and the
little shove.
Dorito commercial.
Yeah.
Remember?
Oh yeah, I remember that. Okay, so now can we talk about
Yes.
the orphans?
Yeah.
The lowercase L's. Yes.
Yeah, so that's funny. Yeah, so they're basically all being trained to be the next L. But was the orphanage originally that? Because the kids all seemed pretty normal.
Yeah, they
like
start-
when L first came there. So was it just an orphanage?
I think
before?
it started with L. Like Watari found L or something like that and basically started the orphanage. Is that right?
Well, here's the thing that I just checked from the Death Note wiki. Wammy's house is one of several orphanages established by Quosh Wammy, also known as Watari. It was founded in Winchester, England, and was initially designed to be a training facility for especially gifted children. The most accomplished of these children was L. Lolliot. After our success as detective, the goal of Wammy's house was to produce a successor to L. So it was specifically because of our success as a detective that the focus of Wammy's house went from training and being able to help these especially gifted children become functioning members of society and help them get used to, having especially gifted minds.
Which is good.
To being almost completely focused on creating the next L.
Which is bad.
So knowing that it's not necessarily a part of the Death Note manga or, anime, it makes a lot of sense as to why Beyond Birthday ended up becoming the way he did and why he just, kind of just flipped out.
Yeah, because he didn't want to be L.
No,
he wanted to be his own person.
No, he ended up becoming obsessed with wanting to become the next L, and that need to become the next L just completely consumed him because he was never actually able to rise up to those standards. So then he decides to literally, for one thing, just take on the appearance and personality and persona of L, so that way he would be able to create a crime that L would never be able to solve, and finally prove that he himself was always a worthy successor.
Yeah, it would make sense to me if there's a group of kids who really, really, really want to be L, and then a group of kids who are very resentful about becoming L. It would be interesting if we learned a bit more about that, and exactly about how Watari has grown to have this belief that these kids should all aspire to be the next L. There's going to be a lot of kids who fail. What are you going to do with those kids?
Yeah.
And also, it's not an orphanage anymore. Are these kids being adopted? Have any of these kids actually, come to belong to these families and stuff? What are you doing now? It's just an institution. It's basically a school. So,
Sister, L does not need parents. L does not need a family. All L needs is the will to solve mysteries and to save the world.
And candy.
And
And
sugar.
candy.
And sugar.
Is that too much to ask?
Yes.
Why well beggars can't be choosers.
So, by the sounds of it, Wammy's house is in a similar but not exactly a similar league with Kinderheim 511. Is what you're saying?
Minus the
crap,
Nazis.
yeah, you're right.
Oh crap! Here we go again.
Yeah.
Wait,
That's messed up.
what happens if someone? What happens if a kid is adopted at the orphanage? It'd be kind of.
Counterintuitive.
If Near and Mello are any indication as to what the output of that sort of thing would be, like, can you imagine someone from Wammy's house having to go out and like live a normal life while also most likely either an antisocial / manipulative super genius?
Yeah, that would be tough.
That would be very tough, but it would make sense if it's an orphanage, more of these kids would be getting adopted, you know? And so that's just kind of, it's kind of manipulative with Wammy. And also they're just, like, he's not treating them as kids exactly. It's like he's not a very good parental figure. He obviously has a favorite who is Elle, you know? So he's basically just this parent, this dad, who has a total, favorite, and everyone else is just trying to catch up, you know? So it just seems unfair, and we need to know more about Wammy because it's very, very interesting.
Yeah, I think I said one theory that he was like a World War II veteran or something like that, but I don't know for sure. Like I said, I don't know anything about him.
Yeah, I wish we knew more. Maybe we could come up with lore for him.
Lore. Some
Lore.
watery lore.
That would be really fun.
Yeah.
So should we talk about, should we move on to the next section and then just talk more about Near and Mello later? Because we just need to keep this going. You know?
Okay, that's a good point.
Okay, so this is the third section, themes and moral conflict. So we're talking about the price of justice or pridefulness in this case. Justice is crossed out because is this really justice?
No,
Like,
they each, like Light and Elle literally each think that they are the human personification of justice. And they're like duking it out as consequence of that.
In and of itself is pridefulness. And the moral of this story is that both Light and Elle don't really have a life. You know, it's like Light has this family that he doesn't spend any time with, and he doesn't really know exactly. Elle doesn't have a family. They're just these people who aspire to be him, and they don't really know him. And then there's Watari, who probably thinks he knows him really well. Maybe he does, but Elle is basically, he's just, he's doing his own thing. But Watari is just like, anything that Elle does is right. Everything that Elle does is what you should be doing, if you want to be the best of the best. And obviously that kind of, what's the word?
Yeah. Labeling?
That kind of labeling or that kind of advice is extremely toxic, So the cost is everything.
Yeah, for Light especially, like obviously his main character, we see him lose his mind, then we see him lose his mind, his relationships, his family, and his life. It's a lot more than that, and it's a lot more complicated. But we literally see him lose everything, and I can believe that for the most part, a little bit kind of like in the first episode, that he actually wanted to bring about justice in a corrupt world, but that just gets immediately dropped as soon as Elle comes up, and he's way more focused on outsmarting Elle and beating Elle than, because we hardly ever hear him talking about bringing justice to the world, about dealing with criminals, and when he does, it seems like he's more so convincing himself about that, but his main concern is beating Elle and proving once again that he's the best. And then we can also see this with other characters. We already mentioned the thing with Elle and Watari. Honestly, rewatching these, I forgot how much of an arrogant punk Elle was. Like, well, even with the one scene, we hear him subtly giving digs at Light's pride.
It's
so
it's like pot calling the kettle black.
Yeah. So like. he had there was no reason for him to tell Light that he said, I've instructed your father and everyone in the unlikely event that I die in the next few days. I've instructed your father and everybody at HQ to assume that you are Kira. So, like, there was absolutely no reason for him to tell Light that. And it probably would have been better if he didn't tell Light that in order to catch him. Because if he really did care about catching Kira, then his own life really shouldn't really matter too much in the pursuit of that. But since it wasn't so much about beating Kira and enacting justice, it was so he would be able to show who's better. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, like he had no reason to say that. I was listening to what you're saying. It's just I was looking up some Bible verses about pride, and I do like how...
well, pride comes before the fall. That's the classic one.
Well, that's the classic one, but it's also Proverbs 16:5 says, "The Lord detests all the proud of heart. Be sure of this. They will not go unpunished." And I
that's a good one.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
That one is just like, God has all the power here. There is no God of the new world. There is only the God. And you, all the prideful gremlins of the earth, are going to be punished somehow, some way. Mm-hmm. And so, sure, Light ends up dying 6 years after L does. L was just the first.
Wait, wasn't it 5?
5-6 years or something like that. Light really thought that he was getting away with this crap. But I do like how both of them are punished, just because a lot of people liked L. A lot of people were actually very angry at L dying. He had it coming. The guy was so prideful and arrogant, thinking that he knows everything, that he's the smartest of everyone. And Watsuki fed into that. Like, he's not a good father figure.
Actually, now that I think about it, that might be one of the reasons why Near won, because since he saw Light not as, like, the whole thing with the battle between justice and that sort of thing, he saw, all Near saw was just another case that he had to solve, so he managed to take his ego out of the equation and just sort of went about it to the point with when he actually managed to figure it out, instead of doing the whole thinking it through, he just immediately went into the avatar state because this epiphany was just so like,
yeah, that
was great. That was great. It was the earthquake and the avatar state.
It's funny, Zeb and I end up having a long conversation about Death Note, and the thing that we end up coming to the conclusion of, which kind of surprised us both, was that out of the characters involved in the Kira case, and were, including Light himself, even though he was Kira, it seems that Near was actually the most humble of them all. Because the thing is that Light, it's obvious, he believed that he was the god of the new world. He was not going to give up. He believed that it was basically his birthright and his destiny to be able to cleanse the world of just bad people. And, literally in the first episode, his goal shifted from, killing bad people to becoming the god of the new world. But then that ended up going out the window when he decides to target anybody who challenges him. Which, starting with L as L Taylor. And then the FBI agents who had... on the last day when they were investigating Light, there was no reason for him to kill any of them, but he still chose to because he had his pride to account for.
Yeah, it's funny. If he stayed like a squeaky clean boy with like a totally cool schedule, if he just kept that routine and just waited for the guys to stop following him, then he probably would have gotten off scot-free. But because he killed the FBI agents, that actually made it easier for L to narrow down who was Kira.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
They would have just reported and said, we don't really have anything on this guy. He just seems like a totally normal, overachieving high schooler.
Boring.
We've got nothing. Nothing. I've been following him. I'm so bored.
And as I said before with L Taylor, if he decided not to, kill L Taylor in the first place, if he had in mind this goal of specifically killing bad people instead of killing people who challenged him, it would give L a lot more of a challenge as far as actually tracking him down. But again, it's his pride. So then moving on to L, where his pride was romanticizing the Kira case as the ultimate fight for justice, and clearly believing himself to be on one side of the spectrum of justice and Kira being the opposite side. Like, for instance, one thing that makes it very clear was actually his first appearance when he then lays it all out to Light. And, like, it's a really cool scene, but he shouldn't have done this, and Near wouldn't have done this. It's right after Light kills Linda Taylor when Al goes on screen and basically says that that his plan worked, and that then he challenges Kira to kill him, which he's unable to do, and then he says that he's nailed down his place in the Kanto region of Japan, which is something that he honestly should not have done. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a really cool scene, it's easily one of my favorites, but it lays out Aoi's own pride, and which ends up sort of following him throughout the rest of the series. And then with Mello, the thing about him that differentiates with Near is just hyper-intellectual. I mean, they're both hyper-intellectual, honestly. It's just that Near is far less emotional about it, whereas Mello is very emotional and volatile about it. But he makes it pretty much completely about himself, not about who's going to become L, because he tells Near that he can become the next L, but he is going to take down Kira. So for Mello, it's not taking down Kira for L. It's taking down Kira because he wants to prove to Near that he is the one who is better. He's always been second best to Near, so this is his best and final opportunity to finally show Near what for. But then with Near and how he approaches things, he completely takes his ego, his pride, and anything that just makes him out to be a lot better than he actually is. Completely out of the equation.
Takes emotions out of it.
Yeah, he doesn't romanticize the case. He doesn't make it all about himself. He tells it exactly what it is. It's a detective going after a crazy serial killer, and that's all that it really is. That he's a detective, Light is the serial killer. This isn't a fight against two spectrums to the side of justice. This is about taking down a very, very prolific serial killer who has been reigning as top dog for the past 6 years. And it's because of that, and maintaining his team and keeping a very good close watch on his team, and being sure that, and always make sure to account for, what his team is doing. One member of the team ends up creating a perfect replica of the Death Note, which he uses to trick Mikami, named Giovanni, and he tells Light that was Giovanni's work. That Near had the idea in the first place, but Giovanni managed to create an exact replica of the Death Note in one night, which is something that's very, very impressive.
In one night?
Yeah, and then literally the next day, Takeda dies. He follows Mikami to the bank where he's going to kill Takeda, and then switches out the Death Note with a fake one, which then Mikami ends up using in the place where he's planning to kill everybody else except Light. And that's where Near's humility and lack of ego ends up succeeding, and Light and Mikami's pride ends up completely failing him in the end. And I guess that's it.
Wow, that was a lot.
Very, very good.
Yeah, but very eloquently put, though. And I guess you could say that pride is also what gets that pride is also what gets Mello killed as well.
Yeah, for sure. He makes it all about himself.
It's a dang shame because I really liked him. Although
he had it coming.
That was the only way it was going to go.
But how would you say, like, when he outsmarted Near, when he and Mello, and managed to get the Death Note with the whole thing with kidnapping? So how do you say
Sayu?
With kidnapping Sayu and all that, I'll have a lot to do with the fact that Mello is just a lot more vicious than Near is. And given the fact that he also, as soon as he had a Death Note, he wrote their name. He had someone write a bunch of the members of Near's team. He wrote their names in that Death Note, and they just wound up killing each other.
Yeah.
Which was just Mello did that?
Yeah,
Mello did that.
Which was a really freaky scene.
The members of Near's team?
Yeah, because he wanted to...
He just took it too far.
Yeah, he was trying to hamstring Near into ensuring that he's trying to hamstring Near's team so that way there are less numbers, so there might be less of a chance
he's cheating.
So that way there's less of a chance that Near would end up beating him. I wouldn't say it's cheating necessarily. Because, the only rules of the game are the rules in the Death Note. That's at least how I see it.
Yeah, well,
so there are no rules.
I guess
aside from the
there are some rules. There's more rules in the Death Note than I thought there would be.
There's so many rules that they put in the what do you call it, the eye catch for every single episode.
Yeah.
Twice.
But I get what you're saying about with Mello and Near, but with Mello that was low.
Yeah, that was a low blow. I'm not saying it's a good thing at all. I'm saying it is an absolutely low blow, but as far as this whole thing with trying to take down Kira, the only real rules there are the rules in the Death Note and the rules that the people abide by for their own morality.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's also the fact that there's also like a lingering thought in my head where, of course, Near and Mello are two sides of L, and we'll get to that in a bit. But one thing I keep thinking is that if L really wanted a Death Note, would he do what Mello did? And I just can't say no.
Yeah.
I would not put it past him.
Yeah, I never said that he's a good person.
No one ever said that he was
are.
a good person. It's just a thought that kind of that was in my head. Like I could totally picture him kidnapping somebody in order to do that. Like something absolutely ruthless.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point.
Wouldn't put it past him.
I don't even think that Near would rationalize it. Like he probably in that sort of situation, it'd be a lot easier to rationalize it than what Mel did, because all he'd have to say is, well, they're I had to be able to hamstring his team, and also they're mobsters, so it's not much of a loss.
Interesting.
But in the case of this, Near would probably just said, oh yeah, I don't want him to win.
Yeah. So the interesting part of that is, all the other guys who use the Death Note, they try to justify their actions somehow, don't they? They kind of, if they don't do that, then they just say, oh, I did it because of this, this, and this. Near would just say, either he would say nothing because, he'd feel like he doesn't have to tell this person anything. That's the problem with L and Lights. Like, they feel like to kind of show off their intelligence, they'll just tell, the other person what they did in the plan and stuff like that,
Or lie.
Or lie, and they're like lie and then throw a little jab in there.
Like, gotcha.
Yeah, gotcha. And then Near, everything that he says is like, it's very to the point, isn't it? He doesn't try to justify the things he does exactly. So if you were to use the Death Note, like you said, he might just say something like, I didn't want him to win, or something like that. I do like that a lot. And I think that's one reason why I like him. He is like amazingly honest.
One line that I really like that he said at one point, actually, because with the whole love triangle between Light, Misa, and Takara, was at one point he's saying like, well, one thing is definitely for certain. The one thing is definitely certain. Light Yagami's a lady killer.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no kidding.
So
well, all you gotta do with Light, the funny thing with that is that all you gotta do is take the word lady killer and drop the word lady.
Yes. So the Near, has he ever lied?
Oh yeah, I bet he has.
I mean, as a detective,
it's like it's part of the job. I get it, but the essence of Near is just he's pretty honest, honestly, or at least he's pretty straightforward about the things he says. For instance, that huge gut punch when he told Light that he's just a crazy serial killer.
Yeah,
it's like that's what he's always been.
You're just a crazy serial killer,
and
nothing
I love
more,
that.
Nothing less.
I love that so much.
That's great. That's really good.
Wasn't that right after Light's big speech when he was like, "I've come this far"?
Yeah, that's right.
That was like the voice acting is just superb. What was it? The Italian version or something
with
like that?
the Italian version of his laugh.
Holy crap!
That was on the first take, by the way.
It was excellent.
And the guy was only like 18 or 19 when he did that.
Really?
Yeah. So
Wow.
he just he brought the heat.
He had a chance to do an extremely evil laugh, and he did it. It's like, okay, whew, that felt great. So can we do? Am I gonna do another take?
No,
Yeah.
I think you're good.
Why don't
we
Let's get some gelato?
Why don't we go for lunch?
Yeah, sure.
He's like, no, okay, can I get a coffee?
Yeah, you could. Good. Can I get a coffee?
No, how about you get some water?
when I was talking about the spectrum as far as the whole humility versus pride, I wasn't saying that in a sense of saying that it's not. I wasn't saying that necessarily in a spectrum of saying that there as like a good versus bad person thing. It's more so that it's more so a method type of thing as well as personality, because Light, L, and Mello were all very prideful, and those are things that ended up getting them killed. Near was the least prideful of them all, and was clearly a lot more humble about himself, and ended up winning in the end. Now, as far as whether or not Near is a good or bad person,
debatable.
It's debatable.
Yeah, I never
I
said
think
that. He's just more honest, it seems, than them.
Yeah, I think he is slightly evil like L, but the thing is that he's willing to be more upfront about it, sort of, I guess. It really depends. I guess it really depends on his team.
Hey, I just realized. So was Near the same age when Near beat Light? Was he the same age as Light was when he first started using the Death Note?
You got looking at the on the wiki. That's what it says. It's like 17 or 18 post time skip.
Oh.
So let's just say around 18.
Okay.
And when's his birthday?
His birthday is August 24th, which is about a day after our mom's birthday.
That's cool. So that's cool.
Yeah, August 24th, 1991.
Okay. Let's start talking about the positives and negatives of this series.
Yeah. Here
We
we
have
go.
many. So some of the positives. Let's just start with the good stuff.
Yeah.
Unless you want to get the bad stuff out of the way. I'm joking.
No.
We wouldn't be able to stop talking about the negatives because that's a much longer list. So the positives: character writing, the schemes, the twists, and the pacing.
Well, hey, keep in mind this is all coming from a place of love and a great entertainment.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, while we already mentioned like some issues with the character character writing, and while I do firmly believe that this is a more plot-based story, it handles it very well for the most part. Because obviously, I love these. The ski schemes are really good. Excuse me. Yeah, the schemes are really good. Obviously the most popular part of the show, and being able to see these characters think these things through, and everybody's playing. It's you know what, I had the exact same experience when reading Dune Messiah, because everybody's trying to play against each other. It's plans within plans and all that. It's actually less complicated than Dune, interestingly enough, because imagine if in Dune it's basically like there are lights and L's all over the place, and they're all powered by space cocaine.
Yeah, basically. Just wait. We're gonna make a podcast on that. Just wait.
Yeah, that's gonna
eventually
be awesome.
once the series once you guys finish the series, right?
Once he finishes the series, I'm stopping at Dune Messiah.
Oh, really? You're not gonna read
No,
anymore?
it gets too weird. It's way more of his thing. Mr. can tell me about it. That's totally fine. It'll be very entertaining.
You know what? Probably the right call.
I can't wait.
I'm on God Emperor of Dune right now, and man, it is a trip.
Like, it's number 4?
That's book 4.
And there are 5 in all?
There are 6 in all.
You're almost there, buddy.
Yeah, but I think God Emperor of Dune might be the longest, but I'm working my way through it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good luck with that. Eventually, we will have a podcast where Nate here tells us about the series. Zip 2, but it's like
First 2.
Yeah.
I'll do the first 2.
He'll do the first 2. But it's what are we calling that series again?
What are we calling it again?
We could just call it "What Are You Doing?"
What? What are you doing?
What are you doing? What are you doing? That's terrible.
I was thinking for that episode, it would end up being sort of like the thing that we end up doing for
Out of the Loop. Isn't that what it's
Out of the
called?
Loop. Yeah, what you end up doing for the Caraval series.
Right.
How, like, you guys,
That was insane,
Mac, and Zip here read the Caraval series.
While the two of us were completely in the dark about it.
Yeah, and you guys basically had to guide us through each of the plot points, the characters, and the magic system, and what the heck was even going on.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for that.
Which was so much fun. I really liked being on that ride.
And how you had to check every now and then to see if we were following along.
Stay tuned
Yeah.
to the Caraval podcast.
That was interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Caraval podcast, that was fun, but yeah, okay, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Anyway, so back to the positives with Death Note. I did really like the plotting. Like, honestly, like it's the kind of plot where if you just dive into the middle of it, you're not going to have any idea what's going on.
Yeah.
But, it's not like, it's complicated, but it's not like absurd. It's not absurdly complicated,
Yeah.
and it's actually fairly easy to follow. Like once if you're there from the beginning and you have just a good idea of how this anime is and the feel of it and the characters and everything.
Yeah.
And it's definitely more plot heavy.
And it's also a very good progression too. I mean, personally, my favorite is everything from the first episode. My favorite is like everything from the first episode up to when Light loses his memory. Like, don't get me wrong, everything after that is great too. But that's just my personal favorite because I just really like the vibe. And I am a firm believer that we should have seen more of Light and L college antics.
Yeah.
Yes.
We said that.
That would have been great.
I mean, I know that he had a set desire of chapters that he had to release, and I know that it probably would have been superfluous anyway, and I know that it might have been filler, but I just want to see it.
Yeah.
Give us the fillers. Like, it's not always bad. Like, come on.
The thing is, he had a set thing of chapters, a set plan for the amount of chapters and volumes he wanted to do, so I can respect that. It's just a purely selfish, an irrational part of me that just wants to see more of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Maybe he could, maybe do some side stories going more into the college days.
What, do extras?
Some extras, yeah. Like the Attack on Titan stuff.
Yeah. Like if Light goes to a college party and then L's there and then all that stuff.
Hijinks ensue.
Oh, hey, Light. How's it going?
That frown.
He had a huge frown on
I was
his
like,
face.
oh, he hates him.
Yeah, but anyway, like the pacing with that is very interesting because it's able to show that both some time is going by and it's still remaining consistent, and then it goes into the more micro pacing in the next arc when Light and L are working together. It's weird. It's able to make it feel like time is moving, but they're still able to keep track of all the little detail things that are happening. It's like it's not too slow and it's not too fast. And I don't know how they're able to keep that balance. Do you guys know what am I going crazy? Do you guys know what I mean?
I think I know what you're
not
talking
really.
about.
I can see what you're talking
it's
about.
Like it's a perfect. It's like a balance between being fast-paced, and when it's fast-paced, it's mainly whenever some crazy Kira stuff is going down. So like Misa's killing spree, or Kira or Light doing the whole thing against the FBI office, or against the FBI, that sort of thing. But then it can like slow down a lot, especially when it's going over like the plotting and the thinking, and somehow it's still able to be very. It's still able to be like really, really engaging, and you're able to follow along. And my personal favorite segment is actually probably from first episode. Actually, it's like specific things, like the early onset stuff of Light versus L, especially when Light is first getting his feet wet with the Death Note. So you have the Lindell Taylor or the FBI or
blood.
Yeah, with blood. Or the Naomi Mizura thing, where you just get a really good snapshot of, oh, this guy's just a monster. He's just a total... He's just a horrible menace. And then that combined with the Yotsuba group, which is... Yeah, I see what you mean. It's like it's both like tense, and it's also just sort of very intricate. I think that's probably the word that you can use.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like there's another way to be able to. I feel like there's another way to be able to say this.
So the negatives. Are we talking about the negatives now of Death Note?
Let's see.
Because like we noticed that.
I will say one more positive thing.
Oh, okay.
I will say that another strength that Death Note has is that none of the characters, like we already talked about Misa, and we'll get to that, but I will say that none of the characters are ever inconsistent with who they are. Like, I don't think
inconsistent.
Inconsistent. Inconsistent's not a word. Inconsistent with who they are. So they never make out of character choices, and everything they make still makes sense.
No matter how crazy it is.
No matter how crazy it is, like even Misa, who's a character, we'll get to that. But like even her choices are still consistent with who she is. And characters making inconsistent choices is definitely an issue with writing that a lot of people could have about characters when it comes up. I can't think of any examples at the moment, but I know it's a real problem. But from beginning to end, like Light for instance, every character, every choice he makes sense with who he is as a character and his goals. And then of course, same thing goes for L, and same thing goes for Chief Yagami. all those guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's why character writing was the first of the positives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, can we dive into the negatives now?
Let's go.
All right. So, for number 1 is male chauvinistic undertones.
Yeah. Yeah.
We it was blatantly obvious to all of us that it's clear that the female characters are not being treated the same as the male characters. Like maybe with Naomi Mizura, it was a little different.
Yeah, well, she should have been introduced some other point so she could have more screen time because she's such a good character.
She died so fast.
The problem is that if she was around for longer, that's the author said that if she was around for longer, then she would already solve the Kira case. And I totally get that problem, but I was just we could see so much more of her. And she's just like a really cool character.
Really cool. Like the way she dresses, the way she acts, she's just awesome. And you guys are both making sounds, Mac and Quincy. Who wants to say something first?
Can I?
Okay.
I think my problem is that with her death is that even if you could have it early, my issue is that there aren't a lot of like consequences that come from her death. Like what? And I mean, obviously she was going to meet with L, and it could have changed everything. But there weren't a lot of actual concrete sort of ramifications after she died. I'm not sure what they could have been, but it goes to the point where so much stuff ends up happening throughout the rest of the show. You momentarily forget about her death. Even though it's one of the best scenes in the whole show.
Yeah, keep in mind this is still one of our favorite. Well, I know it's definitely one of my favorite scenes in the show, even though it's extremely jacked up.
So awful.
Same here.
But it's just I want to see more of her. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I wish she could have instead of just doing a slow walk. I know she was sad because of what happened to Ray Penber. You know, I just wish instead of a slow walk through the agency or whatever it was called, if she just hopped on a bike and cycled really fast.
She actually had a motorcycle.
Yeah, or went on her motorcycle or something. Just use her motorcycle so then with a helmet. So then Light wouldn't recognize her and she wouldn't feel the need to stop. You know? Mm-hmm. I just wanted her to be alive for a bit longer.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Quincy?
Maybe the primary solution here, in addition to what you just stated, Sister, would be to introduce her slightly later in the series.
Yep.
So that way, her death would have more significance, even if she was still slated to die as she did, and so that it would be at a point when the stakes are even higher, debatedly.
Problem is we don't know where to put that in, you know what I mean? Because also an integral part of Light's development as becoming a complete monster, and then it's because of the whole deal with the FBI agents. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because she was Ray Penber's fiance.
Right.
So if Ray Penber hadn't died, then Naomi Mizura wouldn't have gone to seek out Al, basically. And then she wouldn't have come across Yagami, and then Yagami wouldn't have killed her.
Everything would have been different.
Yeah, in the words of Vigo from John Wick, he just had bad freaking luck.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
her.
but anyway, chauvinism.
Yeah. So we see it in the way that Light treats the women in his life, including the women in his family. Because he just doesn't, for one thing, with his mom and his sister, they're family, but he doesn't treat them they're important, it seems. He doesn't feel the need to ever talk to them about anything. He doesn't feel the need really to show any kind of respect towards, Misa, for instance.
Well, I mean, Misa is
any kind of respect. I mean, it's or even with Takeda, he thinks it's okay to two-time.
Yeah,
he doesn't even really like her. He doesn't like any of them that much, but they're obsessed with him, and it's odd to me because it's with the author. Do you want women to act this way?
Yeah, I think the issue it's not so much. It's interesting in that regard. It's not that much of an. That's not the issue. Light having that kind of dismissive attitude with his mother and with his sister.
Yeah,
and of course
it's a character flaw.
And of course he hates Misa. He actually really dislikes Misa because of the fact that she's an idiot and does the thing with the wanton killing and all that.
Yeah.
And so him showing that dismissive attitude toward the women in his life, and of course what he does with Takada is absolutely horrible. That's actually not the main issue because it already shows he's already not a great person because he doesn't
bankrupt.
Because he doesn't treat the women who he's supposed to love, even his sister and his mother. Actually, well, he clearly loves them, but he kind of dismisses them, and then even extends to his dad, where when he watched his dad die, it was debatable on whether or not he was acting. But the issue, I think, is actually lies in the actual writing rather than his character choices.
The women just aren't written that well.
Yeah, so even when you have a chance to write the women well, like we already talked about, like with Misa, who basically becomes Light's lapdog, even though more could have been done with that character. And then with Naomi Mizura, who dies early on, even though she was extremely capable. And the interesting thing is that since after everything else that happens, like Max said, you forget about Naomi Mizura, and then the only other female character that you see on a regular basis is Misa, who's not a great representation of that anyway.
And then Takada comes in, and she's also obsessed with Light. You know, and what did she do? Is she like a newscaster?
Yeah, she was like Kira propaganda. And while that's interesting, there was more that could have been done in that regard too. And then one other thing that really gets on my nerves. Well, first of all, it's also tough because of the fact that considering what this anime is about and how it's mostly dealing with a bunch of male-dominated roles like police officer, detective,
like a bunch of men.
And all that, it's a bunch of men. So I can see why it would be difficult to have female characters. However, that doesn't mean you can't go the extra mile and try something. Me and Mr. were even debating whether or not they could have had like with Near somebody who is more someone else from Wammy's house who both acts as somebody who could help bounce off the things, who's more sociable and is able to the character like a photographic memory or something like that, and able to draw things very well, and basically able to help him figure out the case.
And this character's a girl.
Yeah, this character's a girl. And then also in that same regard, since Near isn't very great at taking care of himself and his horrible social skills, then she'd be able to help with that as well, basically creating like this is the kind of thing that she would have done at the orphanage, but she's also able to help make these ideas more clear. Basically, it was just something like that.
Yeah, well, where she's more than being
the caretaker, the nanny,
the nanny, or the neglected female character, because that's something that the females in the show have in common, is that they're all neglected in some kind of way.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's sad because even Naomi Mizura, it's like,
I would say that she was neglected too, because because other than Al saying a little thing about her helping out with the BB murder cases, I mean, it makes sense because we've got more things to move on to.
Yeah.
But that was an interesting character. It's just and
then just dead, just like that.
One of my favorite, and then I got really upset in the anime when they cut out one of my favorite scenes with Mello meeting with Lidner, who was the blonde lady on the Nia's Kira Taskforce team, and they have like a very interesting conversation. First of all, it's one of my favorite panels because it's the first time we see Mello since the whole Soichiro Yagami thing, and he's sporting a Zuko scar with his hoodie
after getting blown up.
And it's really cool.
Yeah.
And basically having a conversation with Lidner about how dealing with the whole thing with catching Kira, how Lidner doesn't really care who she's helping as long as they can both work to help catch Kira. And it's like a very interesting thing with how Mello, who you kind of see on the same level as Near, is basically having a very equal conversation with Lidner. And while I wish they could have extrapolated on that more in the manga and the anime, and I was really upset when that wasn't in the anime.
Yeah.
It's just, it's you see what I mean.
I know
here.
what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah.
So something I actually wanted to talk about was Light's relationship with his sister, which wasn't shown as much as it was in the anime, actually. There were some things that were actually cut out. That overall, like before he became Kira, it's inferred pretty clearly that his relationship with his sister was pretty positive for the most part. So, like, for instance, when he's talking to Ryuk with the functions of the Death Note, then Sayu basically tries to open the door, but it's locked, which surprised her because, he pretty much never locks the door, which,
Seinfeld.
Which infers... So he's saying that his sister is like Kramer?
That's funny.
So, basically, his sister Sayu would just regularly burst into his room, for things like maybe to talk or just,
Ask for help with homework.
Yeah, ask for help with homework, like for this instance, and Light would just oblige. And another time is that Light would be able to help Sayu get out of doing chores, basically. I'd say that the person he's more dismissive of is definitely his mom. More so. And after he becomes Kira, he ends up becoming more dismissive of Sayu. Like, for instance, when he ends up coming home from the whole, college thing, when L reveals himself, when Sayu calls him Mr., Toho, I think, the college or something. He doesn't say anything and then just goes right to his room.
Where he loses it?
Yeah, which is then when he just kind of loses it. So, what I'm saying is that before he became Kira, Light's relationship with his sister was a good one. Afterwards, he was beginning to drift away. And his relationship with his mom was probably always that way.
Wish you could have seen that more. Like, imagine before he met Elle, if he had a conversation, if he was talking to his sister, and he's like, "Hey, what do you think about Kira anyway, Sayu?"
Yeah, that could have been interesting to see stuff like that. Just more sibling dynamic stuff. I mean, he didn't do her chores for her, right?
No, the thing that he would do is talk about how when his mom cleans things up, it's like perfect. There's absolutely no change whatsoever. It's like you can't even tell. So he basically managed to trick his mom into doing Sayu's chores for her.
That's awful.
That's horrible.
And it works like a charm because she's
terrible.
like, "Oh, really?" And then she just continues on.
Okay.
That's what I mean when I say the relationship with Light and his mom was probably always that way.
We're thinking about justice, though. Justice for Mrs. Yagami.
Yeah.
Justice. This poor woman.
Yes.
Her son, her daughter gets kidnapped and traumatized. Her husband gets murdered in like a raid, and then her son dies. And I don't think she ever finds out that he was Kira.
Nope.
Oh,
Also, her daughter was kidnapped at one point. Did you mention that?
Yeah, she was kidnapped and traumatized.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And
okay.
the last time we see Sayu, she's on a wheelchair, just kind of
Catatonic.
Yeah, kind of catatonic, and Mrs. Yagami is the one who is like pushing her around.
And
the last time we see Mrs. Yagami, it's when has Chief Yagami's urn on the table before, and she's crying. Which is just
her whole life is just crumbling around her, and we don't know anything about this woman.
Her whole life is crumbling around her,
and
her whole life is crumbling around her, and she has no idea why.
Yeah,
Hashtag justice for Sachiko Yagami.
That's actually that's good. Justice for Sachiko Yagami.
Yeah, if we're talking about justice.
Where is
Just
the
for
justice? It reminds me actually of
that's a pretty good song.
Yeah, one scene that I remember really liking it was the thing that you guys brought up already with the folks, with the cops being at the Yagami's house, and then with Sayu showing up, and then Matsuda being taken aback by how pretty she is, and then they're all like having a nice conversation, and they're laughing, and then Ryuk is just like, well, would you look at that? It's a normal moment for the most unfortunate family in the world.
Good point.
Even Ryuk knows.
Yeah, even Ryuk knows it. I mean, we know it, so Ryuk knows it.
Fair
point. Audience surrogate.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Now going into Kira versus Near and Mello. So, how is this a negative? Someone, please extrapolate.
The negative, I'd say, is more so. It ends up becoming more so in the anime, and the reason why I say that is because it is drastically shortened.
It's so
in the
rushed.
Anime
They truncated a lot.
Yeah, and the
That's
manga.
the main issue.
Yeah, in the manga, it's pretty evenly paced. It makes a lot of sense as to why they'd come to these conclusions and how Near and Mello are basically coming right off the heels of where L left off, and now they're basically just using the previous evidence in order to further their own goals to take down Kira. But the thing is that in the anime, I've already talked about this. They end up cutting out a pretty important arc that ends up happening involving the U.S. government. So, which results in Mello having the death note for a significantly shorter time than he did in the manga. And in the anime, he only had the death note for
one episode. Right?
One episode. Whereas in the manga, it was probably somewhere between 7 or 10 chapters because he was able to infer and gather a lot of evidence and information based on that time.
And hypothetically, how many episodes would that be worth?
I'd say it would probably be worth 4 or 5 episodes because, like I said, there's a lot that happens in that arc. It's basically when the U.S. government gets involved.
Okay, I see. That makes sense. Yeah, I haven't read. I think we have read a part of that the manga.
Yeah, I specifically showed you that arc because
Right.
I was just outraged that they cut that whole thing out.
Actually, and if I remember correctly, the reason why they cut that whole thing out was because the studio only allowed a specific number of episodes to be
It's Legend
made.
of Korra all over again.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we all mentioned that the series need more of Sidoh. This is like a more of a minor thing that's in the negatives of this series, but we all agree that Sidoh was a gem and that he needed a lot more
Yeah.
attention.
Yes.
One thing with the U.S. government getting involved, there's a lot more to this, but apparently the military had to send like a SWAT team or something like that to Mello's hideout, and because Mello had a death note, they were all had on helmets, they'll be able to cover their faces, and they were going in. That's a pretty good plan, right? However, then their masks start popping off of their heads, and then they start dying because Mello had set Sidoh to stand guard, and that if anyone came up to the entrance wearing helmets, for him to take their helmets off, and then they would look on the security camera, and one of Mello's henchmen would use the Shinigami eyes to write their names in the death note. And then they took the leader prisoner, and before they could get any information out of that guy, he took a suicide pill that he had in one of his teeth. It is insane.
Yeah, I remember that was crazy.
That's
But yeah,
nuts.
Sidoh is like it's Sidoh supremacy.
Sidoh
right there.
supremacy.
Like he can be awesome, actually.
Yeah.
and that idea, just popping all the
It's
helmets off,
terrifying.
It's very scary.
And those, keep in mind, they have no idea. The soldiers have no idea it's a Shinigami or what the heck a Shinigami even is. So as far as they know, or as far as even the people who sent them in, some otherworldly force just took their helmets off and then they started dying. So that is just terrifying.
very scary thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then the next thing we need to talk about is Mikami's introduction.
Oh,
which-
God. Boy.
And before I forget to say this, which honestly, if
I'll be
there's
right back.
anything you needed to cut out in order to have a specific amount of episodes, it should have been Mikami's
It
introduction.
should have been that freaking introduction.
His first scene killing the members of the Church of Kira.
It's great.
Yeah, that's great. And it's very, very over the top. Like him doing the delete, obviously, and then him writing someone's name in such an intense manner that he ends up just sort of moving. Like, I don't know. He does like a
Jumping
ninja,
out of his chair.
jumping out of his chair. Does like a little
think he was
ninja
already-
spin move or something.
I think he was
But-
already standing up.
Yeah, but honestly, the fact that it's immediately followed by him, by the guy, what's his name?
Demagawa.
Recoiling in fear while it looks like Mikami is advancing on him before writing his name in the death note. That's awesome.
I gotta see that
But-
scene again.
Delete! Delete!
Oh, wait, that's what I was
Delete! Delete! Something, yeah. But
And do you remember that goop? And this doesn't exactly have much importance here, but I can't get past that goofy, gormless look that one of the Kira cult members had on his face right before Mikami killed him.
so like he had this dumb smile on his face, and then he was killed with the death note, and then he just fell forward on his face while still with that dumb look on it, which is still having that dumb look frozen on his corpse.
What are you thinking of? This man's dead kind of situation?
Yeah, that's exactly yeah.
Yeah, and then it goes into his backstory, a backstory that nobody asked for, by the way.
we just met this guy.
Complete with an orchestral thing, like it's I don't even
montage.
know. Like it's some sort of montage, complete with narration. And I remember reading that in the manga, and I was like, "What is this? We don't need this." Well,
Who the heck is this guy?
Who is this guy? When can we get back to when things are actually interesting? And then it showed up in the anime, and I was so.
He was like, "Oh no!"
Oh man,
Yeah, he's not useless. He's just
Kind of. He's just kind
he's
of
just there, and literally like, no one asked.
I don't really
to know
have-
more about him.
Yeah, I don't
Nobody.
have a problem with Mikami. He could be like he is a very interesting character, but it's just like nobody needed that flashback.
No.
Nobody asked for that flashback. It does not fit the genre at all.
Yeah, it was the basis of his story. Like it was basically, oh, I was bullied.
I was bullied, and then
bullied
my mom.
for being different.
Yeah, I was bullied, and everyone told me one thing, but I wanted to do something else. Then my mom died, along with some people who were tormenting me, and that's a sign that I need to do something. I don't know. Well, like I said, it could work, but the flashback, that flashback is just, it still haunts me.
To the extent that you can barely listen to the song in the soundtrack.
I can't.
And it's good music. It's the Death Note soundtrack, so of course it is. But whenever you hear that, you just always make out an audible groan. It's still like, yeah.
I probably just listen to it if I need a laugh or something.
Well, if you need a laugh, you could just look up a picture of Taru making me losing his freaking mind in the last episode. Let me pull it up. Actually,
yeah.
let me pull it up.
There were times when he was writing the Death Note, he was saying delete, and we were like, oh my gosh, as we were watching.
Yeah. I was okay with him.
Get out of here, man.
I was okay with him saying delete the first 4 times when he was,
kinda
or
cool,
4 or 5 times when he was wiping out the members of the Kira cult, but saying it every single time he wrote down someone's name, that was when it that's when it kind of lost it for me.
Ugh. God, yeah. He's so annoying.
And then it got even worse when he was when he was writing the names down, and he went crazy and went, delete.
I'll admit it's normie, but I actually love that one.
I honestly love it too. Purely because it's just so ridiculous and over the top and melodramatic, and it's just this guy clearly thinks he's like the protagonist.
The funny part about that,
look on his face when he's going back.
The funny part about that is how we were all silent, like with the whole part of that. We were just like,
oh, okay.
Like, huh.
This man is insane.
We were just staring at the screen like, this man is crazy.
It's kind of like a more mellowed out version of when we were watching The Batman for the first time, and then when Riddler started doing, no! Oh!
Wait, can I go back? Like,
everyone was like, oh. And everyone was just like, oh, this guy is insane. And instead we were like, this guy's insane.
Yeah. It's kind of like, it's the sort of reaction you get with this sort of thing where it's like a cross between being really kind of freaky and also just kind of funny, but it isn't funny because this guy is just clearly just a total nutcase.
It's not like haha funny. It's like, oh,
I'm in danger.
It's like that.
And I still feel like something we talked about with Mikami is how he feels like he came out of nowhere. And while I feel like this could also be a tribute to most of the stuff with part 2, that's something we was talking about with Mista, is how it feels like how I feel like if there could have been like more foreshadowing done in the part 1 in the first half, basically to help support the things in the second half. So like, for instance with the Wammy's house and Near and Mello, Mikami
college. Didn't we say that's something like Mikami could have been in college with?
Like in order to be able to get around the thing with Mikami, he could have been like a classmate that Light knew in college or something like that, which is how he was able to. He knew that he might be able to be useful. That's one of the reasons why Takada is more interesting, because we actually saw it it was a brief scene, but we still saw her in the actual college environment, which makes the fact that she comes back as a Kira supporter way more interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Because we're like, oh, we know you.
Yeah, exactly.
We didn't know Mikami. He came out of nowhere.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I really like Mello and Near, but it was kind of also felt like they just, oh, well, the Owl's dead. Looks like here 2 more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's very different from, like, if you compare, say, Attack on Titan. Like, spoilers for Attack on Titan. Skip to here if you, I guess...
Skip to where?
Skip to this timestamp or
skip
whatever.
To your Lou.
Yeah, if you haven't watched it. But in season 4, obviously, we never would have guessed that what the big reveal was. But everything that came before that, all the little sprinkles of information and foreshadowing, supported that information.
It was all leading up to one thing.
It was all leading up to the big reveal.
Everybody dies.
Well, not just that. I mean, like the thing at the end of season 3. And then it would have become basically a completely different story by season 4. It still makes sense because of all the lead up that was happening. And while Attack on Titan is a very high level example, you don't have to do all that, because some of that is just completely insane. But it's just, that bit of foreshadowing, building that foundation.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Helps make things a little more palatable.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
It's like even hearing about someone is enough.
Exactly.
And you're like, oh, this person existed back then too. They just haven't been introduced until this certain moment.
Yes.
Until not exactly until they're needed, but until like the story kind of needs them, I guess.
Yeah.
Until they're relevant.
And until they're ready to play their part.
Yeah. We already talked about Misa Misa's downfall.
Yeah, we
also.
talked about that a lot.
You had another thing to say about Mikami?
Yeah, one more thing to say about Mikami. And I think if he was introduced earlier, it could have been... would have done something that I honestly wish we could have seen more of in the actual series, which is the general public's opinion of Kira and like what a lot of people thought would think of him, especially in like the early days of his whole thing. And if Mikami is, like you said before, one of Light's classmates and was one of the few people that's basically like, yeah, I don't know, I can kind of get behind what he's doing. I can kind of get behind what he's doing. Then when he shows up later, you're just like, hey, that's the guy who liked him and who liked Kira in college. It's that sort of thing.
And you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And you also get a bit of a taste in that interview that he's a little bit crazy. So or at least in the scene where he shows up in. So if he shows up later, you're just like, oh, who went and gave this fool a death note?
Yeah, exactly. So I guess it's like with the thing that something that Ryan has said with the last person you should have, the last person should be the coordinate is you. Like the last person you should have a death note other than Light is this fool.
Yeah.
Right.
Now back to Misa Misa.
Oh, we already talked about her earlier, but basically if they just kept her the same as she was in the very beginning, then that could have been better. We understand how, Light could have been doing the thing with the Death Note and erasing her memory multiple times over the course of the 6 years that he knew her.
Yeah, that was just an idea.
Like, yeah, it's a pretty good idea, but I just think it's ridiculous how, she was like, she absolutely die for Light and all of that. It became a bit much.
It's way more.
And then there's an implication at the very end after Light died with maybe Misa Misa just killed herself.
Yeah.
And I felt like I wanted...
you were upset.
You were upset.
You guys remember how upset I was. I was actually much more upset than I thought I would be, because even though she annoyed me so much, I was really fond of her. I am really fond of her, and I just want things to be better for her. Like, not necessarily better as in like, oh, happy ending for Misa. Just that she was treated better as a character, Like, she wasn't used as a disposable tissue, like she was.
It's like thrown to the side of the road like a busted old water heater.
Yeah,
this is going
exactly.
back to the gradual manipulation thing.
Yeah, and I was just so sad about that, because how you feel like when someone has so much potential and it's squandered.
Yes.
The saddest thing in the world is wasted talent.
Yeah, and I think
Bronx
that's
Tale.
Yeah, it's Legend of Korra all over again.
and I think that's just how I felt. She just had so much potential, and it was absolutely just squandered, scattered into the wind. Like what were those things called? What those things?
Cottonwood seeds.
Dandelion?
No, like a dandelion. You blow it and it's just gone.
Every myth to crack its lips has nothing more to say.
Yeah.
Yep, sad.
Let's see. There's something. Oh yeah, you remember when I showed you guys the epilogue for Death Note, where it showed those Kira supporters and it showed that one young lady that was there?
Nope.
Yeah.
You remember?
Yeah,
Like,
let me pull it up.
yeah. He's just gonna pull it up.
Yeah,
Why are you bringing this up?
And the reason why I bring this up is because I remember we all came to the conclusion that was Misa, and that she, despite having her life twice, she managed to
having life twice
Halved.
Twice halved. Whew. How's she still alive?
Hopefully she was gonna live until she's like 130 or something like that.
this chick. Just look up
so
you can just
you
look up a
think that
picture
was
from the last image in the manga.
Misa with her normal hair color.
It
something
looks like
like that.
Misa.
Yeah, it looks like Misa, but turns out the authors confirmed that it wasn't her. It's just a red and beautiful lady who was one of the Kira supporters.
Yeah, thanks, author.
But I honestly...
Thanks for telling us.
I mean, I wish that was... I honestly prefer the idea that was Misa, because the idea of her still being a part of a group of people who, worship Kira.
And the fact that she's forgotten everything about who Kira truly it was.
Yeah.
And the fact that she is still alive somehow.
And the fact that she, despite against all odds and against her using getting the Shinigami ideal twice, she managed to outlive pretty much everyone else involving Kira.
That'd be interesting.
I really like that idea.
But no, let's not go with that.
Wait,
Let's go with that she killed herself because Light died.
So in my mind,
it makes me mad.
So in my mind, honestly, that's Misa. I still want that to be Misa, and I'm just gonna keep it that way. That's Misa.
Wait, did the author specifically ever say anything about Misa possibly suiciding?
It's more so something that it's more
jumping
so
off
something
a bridge or something. Wasn't she in a bus or
it was actually something that's shown in the anime, but we didn't see anything like that in the manga. So
probably could have been something that Madhouse decided to apply.
Omit or apply, you said?
Yeah, because keep in mind that the anime doesn't have the epilogue that was shown in the manga, and I kind of wish it did.
Which I guess would also explain why they had Mikami die as he did.
Yeah.
You know, also.
Yes, we know how he died.
Yeah, but honestly, I think I said before, the geyser of blood, it looks cool, but I just couldn't stop thinking, a pen did that? A pen has the same effect as the bride in Kill Bill's sword does on a person.
It was a fountain pen.
Vein.
Yeah.
What
difference does that make?
It was going through the pen, or was it going directly through the puncture wound?
It was like a geyser.
Yeah, exactly. It just exploded outwards.
That was amazing.
Going back to the Misa thing, I honestly just really like the idea of her being that one, because out of everyone else in the plot and out of the trio, I really like the idea that she's still that she was the only one who made it in air quotes.
So in our minds, I think we just believe that.
That's our headcanon.
That's our own personal headcanon. And now it's yours. Spread the word.
Yeah, spread the word. The gospel. No, that's not good.
The Misa word. The Misa word.
I think the geyser of blood was coming out of the fountain pen, not from the wound.
So he punched it. So it went through the thing, like
like a spout, basically. Because I know there's that sort of thing that happens with like lungs when they decompress or something, when they start filling with liquids. So you need to puncture the lungs, and there's some fluid that ends up coming out.
Mission Impossible, the latest movie for Mission Impossible, basically.
Yeah. So Misa lives.
Hashtag Misa lives.
Misa lives.
Misa
wins again.
Misa wins.
I'll be right back.
She didn't win, but she lives.
Yeah. Just ignore the dog in the background.
It's just a quote that she says at some point.
Okay.
Misa wins.
So we're not going to start talking about the legacy of Kira until Quincy comes back.
So and we already talked about the love triangle, haven't we?
Oh God.
We already talked about that.
I was going to say we still need to talk about Near and Mello though. Like the actors we said we were going to talk about them later. So. Honestly,
so let's not put that in part 4. Can we put that in part 5? Because we're still talking about the positives and negatives. Where would Near and Mello go?
I'd say they'd go in the positives, in my opinion. So
I'd say so too.
So why don't we just say that we're finished with the negatives now? So now we're talking about Near and Mello. We just circle right back to the positives.
And then we'll end with the positives. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So
nice.
We're a positive bunch.
Yeah. Interestingly, we like Near and Mello in this place. I do, like I've said before, there's definitely some writing issues where they could have been handled better and was treated less as like L part 2, but more so like these kids are just how these guys want to be able to help to take down Kira, and they want to do it in their own ways. And the interesting thing is that I know that people have an issue with Near because he seems a little bit too much like a new version, a new copy of L. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just with white hair.
Yeah, and I really like Near, but I can kind of see where they're coming from. I think it's mainly he's a very different character, like as we already discussed. And it's not just like his whole penchant for the toys, although that is a very good hobby. A very good thing for him to have. I really like that, but I feel like it's mainly with his appearance. You know what I mean?
Definitely. The way he sits, the way he acts, the way he talks.
The way his hair is kind of
shaped. The shadows under his eyes.
So I can see where people will be coming from. So I guess if you make a little change, if they made little changes to his appearance.
Tweakity tweaks.
To be able to kind of help show that he's not That's to show that he's not the same as L.
He doesn't wear shoes either, if I remember correctly, right?
He wears socks.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
And I guess one other thing
Probably
to show
grippy socks or something.
Yeah, and another thing to show, I think, in my opinion, I think he's a bit more of a weirdo than L was. At least you're able to kind of hold a conversation with L.
The problem with Near is that he is not very good socially. Like,
he's horrible socially.
Yeah, I'll try to be nice.
Yeah, have you seen his skills chart in the character profile?
It's 1.
0.
0? Not even 1?
In the social
0.
skills. It is blank.
He wouldn't be able to talk if it was 0.
No, like it is blank. Have you ever seen him outside?
Oh, outside. Like, which section is this?
No, I mean,
the social section? Or
yeah, it's like, do you remember the character profile
I
thing
remember,
for
but
Death
which
Note?
section are you talking about?
It's the circle thing, and it shows...
I know, but which section of the circle are you talking about?
The social skills.
Oh.
Well, it's not just social skills. It's also ability to live everyday life. Both of those, it's not 0. It's 1.
Yeah,
on both
1
of those.
makes more sense.
Yeah, at least
he wouldn't be
L
able to
makes-
function if it was 0.
At least L
I
makes
was thinking of the circle.
makes a little bit of an effort. I mean, emphasis on a little bit because I keep
Wait,
thinking of the
it
thing
says
in the
six,
college
not
with the
circle.
speech
It
he was
has 6
making.
sides.
It's a hexagon.
Oh, okay.
Is that just
See if you're right.
Is that like an anime thing, like where they do where they go out
Do
over
stats like that?
The stats like that, yeah. Because there's the same thing in the My Hero Academia
Yeah, okay.
analysis book.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, it is fun. Yeah, it is fun.
Yeah, okay, you're correct. Hexagon.
But anyway, so yeah, at the very least, Al like made an attempt to do so. He even wore shoes occasionally,
He
which
did?
is kind of a big ask.
Yeah, in the college-
at the
the college
thing,
arc.
he was.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, he was wearing shoes. Like when he did the whole that's unacceptable. I will find whoever's responsible.
Yeah, and he was able to pretend to be. Pretend to be like a bumbling nerd and the like, which still takes like a little bit of social awareness. That or
Acting.
acting
speech.
like the speech.
Yeah.
Or like, anyway, you want to go grab some beers later on or something? I cannot imagine Neo doing that.
No.
Yeah. But also on the subject of Al, did you remember that one random girl at the college who I can't remember who?
I think I
the
kinda like
glasses?
the short
Glasses
one.
girl.
I think I kind of like the short one.
Yeah.
I think it's the same one who said, "Oh my God, is that Misa Misa?"
Yeah.
And then I think with the Light and L's tennis match, she was saying, "Go Ryuga!"
Yeah, that was cute.
Actually, I think she said something like, I think I kind of like the other one. Because everyone was talking about how great looking Light was.
Poised.
And poised he was. But then
She was
this
like,
one
I kind of
girl.
like the other one.
But then this one girl is like, I like the other one.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah. And anyway, going back to Neo, so I was saying I kind of see those sentiments. And then one thing, and I really like what the thing with the manga with Minoru Tenaka does, and how I'm not gonna lie, Neo looks kind of horrible actually. His hair is overgrown. He looks like he never sleeps, and he's still wearing those same PJs. But one thing I really like is how he doesn't look a thing like Al.
Yeah.
He looks like and he's definitely clearly his own guy. And one little chapter that I actually really like, when I think there was another guy got a Death Note and he was using it, and then Neo was like, this is so stupid. Okay, whoever is killing people, who's ever using the same power that Kira has, just know that you are infinitesimal. You are not even worth my time. I am not going to look for you. I don't care. I'm just going to lay out the facts to the police, and they are going to find you. I do not care. I don't care what you do. Boop. The guy killed himself with the Death Note.
So that guy was just trying to be like, "Oh, notice me, please notice me," and he failed.
And the Shinigami who gave it to him was like, "Oh, that was so short. Ryuk, how did you do it? You found such a good one." And Ryuk was like, I don't know, man. I just got that kind of luck,
He was
Why did that guy just kill himself?
he was so
He was
offended by
pathetic.
being ignored that he just decided to commit suicide.
Yeah, I think that was one of the main moments, that and a bunch of other scenes in the manga where I was like, oh yeah, I like Nier.
Yeah, he's great.
Okay,
I love
before
all
he
business.
gets 0 craps.
Yeah, here's what he looks like.
He's wearing a sweater vest, you'll notice.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's not wearing pajamas.
He has beautiful hair.
Yeah. You could probably take care of it a little bit,
Yeah,
though.
he is wearing a sweater vest. That's adorable. How old is he here?
He is 21.
Wow. I do like the idea of was it that girl character with the big sister like character, if she does help him with some of those things.
Yeah.
And if she's the only person who he's able to really actually like normally talk to and stuff like that, like a sibling.
And if they're able to like figure out things with mystery while she's like fixing up his hair or giving him a haircut.
I like that. That's cute.
So then his social life would go from 1 to 2.
Yeah, that's big.
One number. Kind of
baby steps. Baby steps.
Baby steps. Yeah, that could be something that she would tell him off. Like baby steps. Baby steps.
Yeah. So anyway,
Mello.
So like I said,
talk about him too.
Like I said, I get the feelings with Near. I'm mad respect for him though. So I'm just saying he's really good.
Yeah. And also we need to talk a little bit about Mmmmatt.
Matt, the underappreciated Matt. Like, what do you call something that lies in the ground and doesn't? What was it?
Oh my gosh,
Matt.
Thanks, Mac.
Sorry, sorry.
Thanks for that.
Oh crap!
Didn't even realize.
I didn't mean that as a joke against Matt like that. I was just talking about the name. I was referencing about chicken. We like you, Matt.
Yeah, but anyway, so
that sounds so insensitive.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I think people have more positive things to say about Mello, and I think that's mainly just because of how different he is from L.
I think that he is from L, but also
he could be Taylor Swift. We don't know.
Yeah, or Taylor Swift's twin brother.
Yeah, because he's got the same birthday.
Separated at birth.
By the way, because he's got the same birthday as Taylor Swift,
same
down to
hair
the
color.
year.
Yeah,
same hair color. They kind of got similar hairstyles at some point. It was crazy.
Yeah, actually,
they even got similar like fashion tastes sometimes.
Yeah, similar skin tone. Also, it's like it was wild.
It's terrifying.
What was the time out?
They can't hide the truth any longer.
What was time out for?
We talked Mello and
right. I think one reason why people might like him more is because they relate to him a lot more. A lot of people aren't able to separate emotion from logic or fact, and I think people tend to like people who they relate to more.
That's why people like light so much.
That's why people like light so much, because a lot of people probably feel like they are boring, like they need to do another thing with their life, or like they have the same feelings as light, where we need to just get rid of all the bad people in the world. But with Mello,
read enough history, that happens.
Yeah, it does. It's like we've experienced it, where you just want to get rid of all the bad people in the world, But then there's, thinking about our own views of good and evil, we'd probably be just skiving over a lot of people who are also bad, and we just haven't realized it yet, But anyway, so with Mello, a lot of people act on their emotions, and obviously we've had experience with that as well. It's like a maturity issue, and Mello is pretty immature. You can be very intelligent and immature at the same time, and a lot of people act on their emotions, and they try to justify it by saying, "Oh, I was just angry. I was sad. I was, so and so." But with Near, he just puts all of his emotions aside and is emotionally mature enough to do that, and he's just able to see things as they are. And for one thing, I think that annoys a lot of people about Near.
What about like L? How do people does L seem like relatable to anyone in that case? It's because it's kind of hard to say.
There's a range. I think there's a range because
I mean, I like cake too, so
yeah. I think that is one thing. A lot of people like toys as well, but I think with L,
I don't play with toys anymore. What are you talking about?
They're impressed by L, because L, he doesn't really brag, but he kind of flaunts his superiority and intelligence over other people. Near is definitely more on the humble side, and I think some people can be annoyed by that, by the good qualities in people, and it's weird to say, about how some people can dislike people because they're good or better than most, but it's true.
Yeah, and they're also comparing him to L.
And they're also comparing him to L, and frankly, the only way that he's very similar to him is kind of with how he sits and
his appearance.
Yeah. Internally, they're not the same.
So
they're not even close to being the same.
So if they went with the long hair approach, initially, then that probably would have been able to dissuade some of it.
Maybe that would have helped. I would have been nice.
Yeah,
And
I think it's. I think it would have helped definitely.
Same. I agree.
Would have done a lot.
Yeah, one thing that I really
You okay with the?
Hold on.
Sounded like real.
yeah.
Yes.
Would have done a lot. Is what I'm trying to say.
One thing that I really love with specifically, I mean, you guys have a better perspective of this because you read the manga, but with the whole mafia thing where Light was outfoxed by Mello, one thing that I really love is how since Light is kind of rusty in terms of outsmarting super geniuses, he initially thinks that this is going to be Kira versus L all over again. So he's completely blindsided by the fact that Mello is a freaking lunatic and is just an absolute wild card. What he can do.
I still don't know where he got that missile.
L is also a wild card, but Mello is insane.
Yeah.
Like Light.
Yeah.
So,
At least Near has structure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although, what we'll say one funny thing is that that when Light thought that he beat Near, remember I knew it! Yeah, first of all, that's a great scene. And second of all, he thought that he defeated Near because he thought that Near would take the more noble route of being the hero. And by the way, good luck trying to find an argument for him. Good luck trying to find an argument for Light because he literally said that he thought that Near was being too much of a good guy, a goody two shoes to win in this game. And so Light thought he was being more evil. It's just this freaking Light. But
to defeat your enemies, it's like with Sun Tzu, you do have to be similar to them in some of these cases.
That's why L was so close.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like in order to beat your enemy, you have to be similar to them. And then Near was like, yeah, but you also have to know them. So I really don't want to be similar to Light at all. So no, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
he doesn't want to act like him.
And in order for Near to beat Light, he just did a very simple trick based on all the accumulated knowledge that L and Mello got, and he used all of that knowledge and teamwork to beat Light. Like you said, like we always talked about, setting aside his pride for the greater good of humanity. Yeah.
Yep, and I just love that about him.
Yeah,
because the story really is all about pridefulness.
How pride cometh before the fall.
Yeah.
And I think
it's just so interesting.
And I think now that I think about it, but first of all, one reason why I think people like Mello so much is that he's such a departure from like the other Death Note thing, the other Death Note characters, where he's just a complete gangster, like an actual gangster.
Yeah,
and then
like literally.
And then later on, when Near does his thing, I remember reading it in the manga. I was like, holy crap. Near's a gangster too.
Yeah.
And one scene that I actually really like, I think it's a couple years after Light's defeat, and it shows Near is assembling the new L Taskforce for a new case, and while he's playing toys, he's eating a chocolate bar. Basically, his version of pouring one out to Mello.
To his home, pouring one out to his homie.
Yeah, so, that's actually kind of heartwarming, actually.
Yeah, because
he was actually totally fine with working with Mello, and he was like, yeah, I mean... And I remember even when he said, I think the guy in charge said that you guys have to work together, Near was like, all right, let's do it.
It was Mello was like...
He didn't sound enthusiastic about it, but he didn't sound dismissive of it either.
He never sounds enthusiastic about anything.
Exactly, yeah.
I think, Mello was like, no way, I'm not working together with him. He is not my partner. He's my competitor.
It's just the little things, right? Showing how Near isn't a prideful person.
Yeah, and I think even Near was like, Mello is going to work way better if we work together, so we should just do that. No!
It's ridiculous.
Like he thought about it for about 5 seconds and then just still said no.
Yeah.
Maybe 2.
It's probably most likely 2, actually.
Okay, so we finished that section.
Again, final consensus. Would have been good to see more of Matt.
Yeah, it would have been nice to see Matt and Mello's dynamic.
Yeah.
Wonder what Matt even did in Wammy's house. Anyway, he only got one line, and that was right before he got shot.
Yeah, and it was a great death scene, but that's all he really did.
Maybe he was a painter or something like that. He's got to do something. He seems like a little bit more artistic, alternative kind of guy.
I think he was more of a technician type.
Technician?
Oh, okay, well that's interesting.
What was his main quirk?
Which one of you was it that came up with that noticed how similar he looks to, remarkably enough, Steve from Blue's Clues?
I forgot about that.
Wait, say what?
Wait.
You guys forgot about Matt is Steve theory that you bandied about a couple years ago?
Wait, I
guess
about
we're
this.
gonna have to put in a audio bite or something of that podcast because we've already done we did another podcast about Death Note.
That's right after we finished it.
Huh?
That's right after we finished it.
Right after we finished it, we did a podcast about Death Note.
When we had a single recorder, like
a single
in the
one,
middle of the table.
So it could be kind of funny if we insert like a bit of that audio in this Like, well, we have to figure out when we're going to put it in.
Yeah, the comparative jank would be.
It sounds extremely janky. It's like a bunch of crosstalk. It's before we knew how to set up the podcast stuff. So it could be fun to show you guys at some point.
Maybe we could put it here. Previously on 4G 1G, before it even had that name.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyway, I know you want us to, Quincy.
Yeah, we probably should. We're obligated to. I mean, they've got similar striped shirts, come to think of it.
Yeah, I don't really remember what I said about them, but it's a possibility because Steve did go off to college, quotations, which is ridiculous because he looked like he was about 32 years old. Number 5, The Legacy of Kira. We talked about, well, we already kind of know, you guys probably already know, that crime dropped by 80%, which makes complete sense. There was a new kind of existential fear because you could just drop dead with no idea how it happened. And
the Russian accent.
Drop dead.
Buzz off!
And then was Light the most elusive and successful serial killer of all time?
If you kill 200,000...
The answer to that is yes.
If you kill 200,000 people over the course of 6 years, then the answer is yes.
Not even Johann Liebert has that high, has a kill count out that high. Although if he was able to get through on his evil plan long enough, I think he would have topped it.
Yeah, probably. So there isn't much to say about that. Unless you guys have anything to say about it.
I will say that in the year after Light's death and when it was becoming clear that Kira's reign was over, crime was steadily beginning to rise. Like, for instance...
Because people were like, oh, we're free!
Yeah, we're free, finally!
Like, for instance, when Machida and Aizawa were going back to the Japanese police headquarters, you could see biker gangs being willing to just drive around more openly.
It really brings things full circle, by the way.
Yeah, Baiku gang, I forgot about that. That's really good.
Yeah, which, is which happened to be one of the first people that Light killed in, the first episode.
Yeah, plus, all biker gangs are criminals.
The one in 20th Century Boys.
Oh, yeah, those guys are great.
Yeah, it's just kind of funny with thinking that. It's like these biker gangs could be good guys, Maybe all biker gangs were just scared of driving around during the reign of Kira because, Light might take a look at these guys and be like,
what a bunch of ruffians.
What a bunch of ruffians.
They're just causing trouble for normal people going around minding their business. Maybe a truck crash would change their minds.
No, I don't want to get easy guy.
All of them.
Change their minds or change their minds or splatter them all over the road.
So it's like he sees them and then they're like, boop, 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 boop. Misa, I see. Misa, you're across the street, right? I want you to kill that biker gang.
All right.
I was going to say that, honestly, it seems something more like Mikami would do, except the biker gang wouldn't be doing much of anything except going over the speed limit.
They're 2 miles per hour ahead of the speed limit.
They must die.
They must die. Delete.
And then,
delete.
Yeah. Anyway, I will say that as far as the legacy goes, I mean, like I said, we talked about all this stuff with Light being, crime dropping and existential fear and all that. But I will say, as far as the legacy goes, the fact that kind of meta with this anime, I think there's still people talking about whether or not Light was right or whether or not it was the right decision and all that. Mm-hmm. And it's still a thing. Like people, like for example, you read what's it called, the Beyond Birthday thing?
Yeah, it's called the Los Angeles BB murder case.
Yeah, so I was like very surprised that there was like a book, a Death Note book by the author that made.
The author wrote it.
It wasn't the author, but somebody who worked with the author at some point.
Yeah, so this is the bonus section of today's podcast where we're talking about the team up of Elle and Naomi Misura against Beyond Birthday. So that's what this story is about, and I haven't read it.
I haven't read it either.
It sounds really cool. So,
yeah. Oh yeah, it sounds awesome, and also it's also kind of funny when you learn about stuff like, say, the names of the Americans.
Which
what are their names?
Like, for instance, the murder victims' names were Believed Bridesmaid, Quarter Queen, and Backyard Bottom Slash.
Those
And
sound-
I read most of this thinking I read most of the book thinking that those were code names that Mello did to protect the identities of them or something. But then two things happened. One, Quarter Queen was a kid who was killed by Beyond Birthday, and they described that, and they basically said that since this is a kid, then the way it works basically is that since it's a kid, then as far as your name is written, it would be in lowercase q's instead of uppercase q's. Despite the fact that all proper nouns have uppercase letters in front. Whereas it was basically like, this is a kid, so, lowercase letters in a name would make the most sense here. This is my first hint, and I was like, okay. But then moving on, there was two other names, and by the end, where the image was getting closer and closer to figuring it out, there was one called, let's see, what was the name? But it was really bizarre. There were really... the most bizarre names I've ever heard.
American names.
Yeah, and that was when I realized these are actual names.
those sound more like the names of trendy rock bands or something like that.
Quarter Queen actually is pretty good.
Yeah, like Quarter Queen sounds like the name of a band. It'd be a pretty good one. The name of a band or a racehorse.
Yeah.
So, so let me just check here. There was a name, two names here that had specifically BBs there. For instance,
Backyard Bottom Slash, which also isn't that was that the name? Was that what the name was?
There's Backyard Bottom Slash, Quarter Queen, and like I said,
what the heck kind of a name?
Made because
and what?
I don't know if it was a translation thing or if that's what the author thought American names went, but
I mean, if you look at the manga, the names of the FBI agents, which I want to read in a second once you find that.
Yeah, that's so...
Then that's a pretty good indicator in terms of that.
That's so odd.
That's really fun. That's really funny though.
But yeah, go read the book. Just put it on hold at the library or something like that and read it.
But wait, is Ray Pember and Naomi Mizura, are they American or?
Ray Pember.
I know Ray Pember.
There's such thing.
Yeah, Ray Pember was American.
Japanese American. Naomi Mizura could very well be that.
Yeah, I know, but those names
most likely, yeah.
But those are normal sounding names. So
yeah, it's odd. Ray Pember is different.
Yeah, but I can it
I
pass.
can get behind that. Pass.
It can make a pass.
Why not?
Yeah, Naomi Mizura is probably the most normal out of them.
Yeah, Mizura is Japanese.
Yeah, that's Japanese. Yeah, exactly, because it's Japanese.
I don't know.
Yeah, Naomi's American. Actually, probably multiple cultures. Now I think about it, because it's biblical.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, Hebrew in origin.
And then you have the FBI agents' names, which just goes completely off. Which goes completely insane,
completely off the rails.
And what is it?
I don't remember the actual names. Do you have them up, Mac?
Yeah, I have them up here. Okay, I just need to. All right, so the names go. I'm gonna try my best to pronounce these. Freddie Gunter. Freddie with a spell with an I, by the way.
Okay.
How do I say the second one? Is it Ari? Ari?
Okay, I see.
Ari.
Arrear.
Arrear weak word. Leanne Zapak, yeah.
Wait, what?
Towards the note.
Is your name Leah?
It sounds like Key and Peele.
Yeah, they sound like the Key and Peele football names.
So it's like Liam, but it has an N.
Leanne Zapak. And then towards the note. Al Thunderum, and my personal favorite, Best Skittle. University of California.
Okay.
I have expect Hingle McCringleberry to show up there.
Kringleberry. All right. Are we done with that section?
Yeah, we're done with that section.
Yeah.
And there's the one shot with Minoru Takara Or Tenaka, sorry.
I think I read that once a few years ago. Very, very interesting. This guy, apparently Ryuk is bored again, and he wants to restart things with Kira. So what he does is he looks for the smartest kid in Japan, and he finds a kid named Minoru Tanaka, and gives him the Death Note. And he's like, "Whoa, so are you telling me this is what Kira used to take over the world?" And he's like, "Yep. Don't you want to do the same thing as him?" And he's like, man, the amount of change I could do with this, it's unbelievable. And Ryuk's like, "Yeah, so whose name you want to write? But I could fix the economy." What? Yeah, imagine. This is the weapon that the Kira used to take over the world. So I could just advertise this, build up a following. People were gonna want it, and then I could sell it to whatever government wants it the most, and then I could use the money to fix the Japanese economy. Yeah, that could work. And he's like, okay, but don't you want to kill people? What? No, I don't want to kill anyone. I'm gonna fix the Japanese economy with this thing. I'm gonna, but maybe I can sell it to the United States of America or something like that, or maybe China, Russia, whoever. Anyway, his
intentions are good. His intentions are good.
He's not trying to kill anyone, but
it's still a horrible idea, though. But
it's also against the Death Note rules because evidently the Shinigami King added a rule that said any person or Shinigami that tries to sell the Death Note for the amount of money will have their name written down. And so Ryuk is just thinking to himself, "Okay, I'm definitely writing this kid's name down, but let's see how this goes first." And after a series of events, which I don't remember because I read this manga a couple years ago, it actually worked like a dang charm. He was able to sell the Death Note to the United States, and he fixed the Japanese economy.
What did he sell it for?
I don't know.
Did
It was
he
a lot
die?
of money.
For like $1 trillion?
Did he die?
He died. Yeah, Ryuk wrote his name right under lights.
Huh.
So
Okay, better the U.S. than China or Russia.
But he fixed the economy.
And the thing is
So-
that the Shinigami King saw what was happening and then added a new rule that the Death Note cannot be bought or sold.
that's what made him write the rule down.
Yeah,
what
but-
were you during the whole thing when Kira was taking over the world?
Well, he followed the rules.
Okay,
and
that's
then
true.
Ryuk was actually going to warn Tanaka about this, but then Tanaka said that the time is over. So it's like he never wants to see him again. So he renounced the Death Note and completely lost his memory. And then as soon as he received the money to fix the economy, Tanaka ends up dying. And basically
But he fixed the economy?
Yeah, he fixed the economy. But then what Ryuk ends up warning the US president is that what ends up happening is if he touches the Death Note, then he's going to die right there because the Death Note can be bought or sold. So if he touches the Death Note and if the person who sold the Death Note in the first place touches the money he got for selling the Death Note, they're going to die right there on the spot. So
That's not fair.
no,
Well, crap.
yeah, it was. Keep in mind that this was added right after the Shinigami King saw what was going on.
He just didn't like how someone found a loophole.
Yeah,
No.
he just didn't like that someone wasn't using it to kill people.
Pride.
Again.
All right.
And one more thing, the Japanese movie.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of like when L's quote unquote death scene in that where he basically just topples over with the same expression on his face, but instead of it being like an incredibly dramatic moment of holy smokes, he's dying and there's red lighting and you can actually see the highlights in his eyes. He topples over and it's more like, oh crap, I'm falling. And he just slightly right before it does the wide shot, it's like a tighter shot of him toppling over and he just sort of falls off screen momentarily, which just looks so funny because he still has that dead elf expression on his face.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is that I don't know what it is. Like we watched the clip and it was like the dub with like the dub actors. It felt really nice to hear them, all the characters again, actually. But it was like really weird how, because the budget and the way the lighting and everything looked, it looked kind of like a Disney Channel movie.
It looked nothing
they needed
like that.
more money.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they couldn't have the money to get look like a David Fincher sort of
the
thing.
lighting like way too good?
It was way too bright. Like don't want any. It wasn't a shadow in sight. But at the same time, it was weird because it's definitely the most cathartic Death Note ending.
Yeah. This is by far the most satisfying ending to watch. Because if I remember correctly, L knew that his name was that the Shinigami was probably going to kill him. So just on a whim, he wrote his own name in the Death Note and said that he would die 23 days after his name is written in there. So anything that Rem already wrote in her Death Note was basically moot because he wrote his own name in the Death Note. And that way, he was able to solve the mystery on who was Kira by pretending that he was going to die. And he was able to defeat Light once and for all. And like I said, and then of course Light ends up dying in Soichiro's arms, and that's very heartbreaking. I think Misa gets her memory taken and ends up being carted off to jail. I think, is that right?
She ends up losing her memory. That anything involving Light or her being the second Kira or Light being Kira or the Shinigami. So you gotta wonder, would she even be culpable? Would she be even worth
culpable?
Being taken to jail in the first place?
It's magic, so it kind of puts a gear in it kind of puts a wrench in the gears of the justice system.
It also felt kind of nice. It also felt like really satisfying to see L talking to Ryuk, even though it was brief. Like I remember, like, you're not going to the first thing he said to L was like, "You're not going to actually use it, but that's so boring," and then he flew away. Mm-hmm. And then I think after Light's dead, then he basically used the next month to basically prepare things for his successors, who we know are going to be Near and Mello. And then he had a very, very nice conversation with Chief Yagami, who saluted him and said it was an honor to serve with him. And then Al just said that the honor was his, and it just felt it's the original voice actors, and they had like Soichiro's voice actor, and it felt so good,
Yeah, and also the Japanese actor killed it. He looked exactly like how you'd imagine a live action L would look.
Mm-hmm. Also, before I forget, it deserves to be noted that in order to defeat Kira here, L put aside his pride and managed to, and that's how he managed to defeat him.
Yeah,
Nice.
it was
back.
a much better ending, I would say.
It's definitely the most satisfying Death Note ending.
And it feels
It was really good. We were all so sad.
Yeah, it feels exactly like the sort of crazy, insane thing that L would do. It's like that is totally in character,
and it felt like it was the exact sort of thing that would actually happen in the show. It's really weird. It's
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, is that it for this discussion?
I think so.
Yeah, that's a good place to end it, actually.
Well, if you guys like this, subscribe, make sure to follow us on all the available platforms. Stay tuned for the next episode, and if you guys have any ideas on anything else we should discuss, please comment below and let us know. We would love to do it.
And send us your full names while you're at it.
Don't do that. No, he's crazy. Don't listen to him.
We need their pictures too, though. But
don't do that.
It's for if you unsubscribe.
No, don't do that either.
Yeah, don't do that either.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode. We really, really enjoyed talking about this anime.
Thanks for tuning in to watch a bunch of weebs talk about Death Note.
20th
for 3 hours.
It was a very in-depth conversation, that's for sure.
Yeah, 20th anniversary, right?
In-depth.
Okay, now I'm gonna write your name.
Okay. Any final thoughts?
It's the 20th anniversary, isn't it?
Of when the anime was first released.
Oh, it was
more like the 19th actually, since it was in 2006.
Oh, right.
Man, good lord, this
Wow.
anime is like about, almost as old as we are.
It's older than her.
It's older than you.
Yeah. Holy
God.
cow.
How does it still look so good though?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Tatsuo Araki. It's a great direction.
Yeah. Well,
Happy belated anniversary, Death Note.
Yeah.
well, we got other stuff to do, so we got to tune out. See you
Yeah,
guys
yes,
later.
yes.
See you later.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Welcome to the preview. Join us as we fly headfirst into an anime that gives us the most convoluted emotions imaginable, My Hero Academia. That coming podcast covers seasons 1 through 7, so stick around for when we do an episode on season 8 in the future. Do stick around for that, and share this podcasting channel with your friends and family because they might enjoy the stuff we talk about like how you do if you're still here. Thanks, by the way. You have great taste in media. That's all I got, so thank you for listening. God bless, and we'll see you next time.